Welcome, everyone. I am Chris Gore. This is Film Threat, and it's Friday. That's right, our Film Threat Friday livecast. Today, we'll be reviewing Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. In addition, other films that are opening this weekend, including a film called Past Lives from A24. Lots to discuss. The Boogeyman is out. Yes, The Boogeyman opens in theaters. This is a horror film based on a Stephen King story. And we have the director who will be talking to us at the end of the show. So get your questions ready for the Boogeyman director. He'll be joining us. Rob Savage, he will be here. And you are here. So let's get things going. Let's kick things off on a Friday. We're on time. I just want to let you know that we're on time. And Alan is going to be here any second. Alan, where are you? Wait, where's Alan? Just this. I'm going to find him. Just a second. What did you do, Alan?
Oh, just a bad one-nighter.
Cool. Well, you and I have seen, I don't even know what you think. Like you and I have seen movies. We've both seen the same movie, but I actually don't know what you think. So I find out on the stream. I think this is a good policy.
Yeah.
That's what we should do. Is just
you know how my kid feels about one of the films.
Okay, wait, are we both going to drink coffee at the same time? You have tea.
I have tea.
Oh my God, I'm so pre-coffee. It's not funny. All right, let's see who's here today to join us in the chat. Very excited to see who's here. All right. Lord Thoth is here. Thank you, Lord Thoth, for your service. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. Join us as a member. Thank you, Lord Thoth. Robert Thompson Watson. Miles Morales is Miles Morales. Well, that's true. That is a true statement. Thaddeus, that thumbnail. I did really like the film, though. Oh, interesting. All right, we're gonna get your opinion when we get to Spider-Verse. Alan Horkin, happy Friday, fellow humans. I am also looking forward to the review of Spider-Man: Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. Okay, I love that comment because my brain thinks that way. I will look up a film. It's like, is it a colon or a dash? Like, I appreciate that attention to detail.
I had to do that last night for the review, and then everything's spider dash everything. So
yeah, we didn't get invited to an early screening. We just saw it on Thursday with everyone else. I don't know why. Also, whatever.
That's Sony. I don't think
I
rarely get invited to Sony stuff.
Yeah. The greatest Spider-Man film to ever be made will always be Spider-Man 2, says Solomon Thornton. There you are. Andrew S. Good day, all. Favorite time of the week. You must be British. That's the British spelling of always adding U's. Color, favorite.
Favor. By the way, did you get invited to the screening on Monday?
Of what?
Of The Flash.
No, I didn't. Did you?
I did, yes.
All right. Well,
honestly, I'm going only for the ending.
Yeah, exactly. Imperfect. All hail the great Alan Ing, the most wise, powerful, and serene Supreme Sifu of 69. Oh, hey, Chris. I like that. Thank you, Imperfect. Damn,
Imperfect was on fire on Wednesday, by the way.
What's that?
Imperfect was on fire on Wednesday. We just
my God,
put up a lot of his comments.
So Wednesday was really fun. Next week is going to be crazy. We have Critical Drinker coming on, but my defense person that was supposed to be on the defense just bowed out. This is a problem I have with the point of the show is to get people who disagree. If we can't get anyone to defend the Star Wars sequels, what does that tell you? Jesse Slack says, damn, I'm on time for once. Well, we're on time. Sifax. Hey, AJ. Hail Film Threat. Always a good start to Fridays. And Mexican Iron Man, watching my grown man nerd bros watch Little Mermaid and Spider-Man back to back is awesome. Thanks. Thank you, Mike. We appreciate you. It was fun. I was on Tom Connor's birthday stream yesterday and had a really good time. It was fun. I was actually Mexican Iron Man was pretty much running things, but I was basically doing my email sitting on my couch, and I was on Tom's show, which was a lot of fun. Thank you for the invitation. It was great. Elliot Cecil for $4.99. It's crazy how we're already getting part 2 in less than a year in March. We could get a tease like in 2 or 3 months. We'll see.
By the way, we should note that there's 3 part 1s this year, and they're all over 2 hours long.
Yeah, 3 part 1s. There's, of course, Fast X, which we've already seen, Across the Spider-Verse, and Mission Impossible. Yeah. Oilers Workshop for $4.99. Off topic, I found myself getting super stressed watching the prosecution and defense argue their cases in court this week. Too much like real court TV. Oh, Oilers Workshop. Well, thank you for that. That's sort of the point, is to actually recreate an actual trial setting and for people to take it seriously. So, what it does is it ups your game. I couldn't believe Ryan Kinnell, who I realize I've been mispronouncing his last name the entire time I've known him.
Oh, I thought you were joking.
He says it's Kinnell. And I was like, okay, Kinnell. Oh, that makes sense. I always said Ryan Kinnell. I just said I had the emphasis on the wrong syllable. In any case, so apologies to Ryan for that, but he knocked it out of the park with his presentation. I strongly recommend, if you have not seen this past Critics Court, that you check it out. But if you are interested in being on the defense and you would like to defend Disney Star Wars, I'm looking for people. I am looking for people. So there you are. Thank you, Oilers Workshop. And Iceman watched Guy Ritchie's The Covenant recently. Alan was spot on with his review. I recommend that movie highly. Oh, Alan was right for a change.
Jeez. I'm always right.
No,
Fast X is not a good movie. I'm just saying.
I like your opinions. I like knowing what you think about a topic, because it may or may not align with my own. All right, we're going to get into it. We will talk Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse momentarily. But what we're going to do is, as people file in, and there are other shows that are happening live, I know, and we appreciate that, you're choosing us at this moment. We're going to talk about a movie that has come out from A24. Alan and I saw this at a recent film festival together a couple weeks ago. The film is called Past Lives. If you've seen the trailer, it's a simple story of 2 young Korean children who were friends, deep friendship. They're kids, and the young woman's family moves away. She moves to New York City, to America, with her family. She
moves to Canada, actually.
Oh, excuse me. That's right. Canada. It feels like New York. Sorry. She moves to Canada, and her family then settles in that country. They reconnect as adults, but she's married someone else. That's the simple version of the story that you'll get from the trailer. Alan, what did you think of Past Lives?
Yeah, I really like this one. It's hard for me to buy into a lot of romances, and this is one. And I think why this movie succeeds is the writing and the direction. And it's by Celine Song. This is her first movie. I think she did a dabble on a TV show, but this is her first feature film, and it's amazing just how well crafted and constructed this movie is. And look, it's a romance. It's if it leaves you emotionally messed up at the end, then it did its job, and I think this one did. And a lot of it is the thrust of this movie takes place in the third act, where Hay, the guy, comes to New York to visit Nora, who's now married, and her husband. And Hay and Nora kind of go on a date, and that kind of leaves the husband as the third wheel. And this dynamic plays out in such an interesting and I feel like authentic way, not for comedy, but for drama, that this movie just succeeds in so many ways. And, you cut out or like immediately after the movie was over. But the Q&A afterwards, I mean, Celine put a lot of thought into this movie and a lot into how she filmed the movie. And so it's just really a master class in romance. And again, I can't believe this is her first movie.
Yeah,
Are you
like
muted? Yeah.
no, yeah, sorry. Yeah. First of all, it's just refreshing to see a romance, right? And not a romantic comedy. This is purely a romance about two childhood friends who never had the opportunity. I mean, I feel like if they had grown up together, they would have become involved. It would have been boyfriend and girlfriend, but they just were they were like the right age to be close friends, but not quite be boyfriend and girlfriend yet. And so when they part, it's tragic, and you really feel that. And it's just this the lack of, like, I mean, it's almost like romance as a genre is just doesn't exist.
Yeah, romance and comedies. I mean, the other thing is, hey, happy Pride, by the way. It's a straight couple.
Yeah, that's weird. It's weird. It's like, oh, not only is it a genre you don't normally see a romance, but it's like, oh, they're straight and there's not, which feels weird. Like, oh wow, we don't get a lot of this.
It's like harkening back to a time long ago.
Right. But the other thing is the lead actress is fantastic.
Greta Lee.
Yeah, she really carries it, like having to balance this because she is devoted and genuinely in love with her husband. But what she sees in Hay is a life that could have been.
Yeah.
So
the interesting thing about that is that Hay doesn't speak English. He only speaks Korean, and her husband knows a little bit of Korean. And she is kind of caught between the emotions, the feelings of these two, and having to kind of interpret between the two of them. And there's that dynamic there now that she has, seeing the emotions of each person, and then having to process that in her own life.
Yeah, it's I really love this film. It's the performances, the fact that it's like a genre that used to be we would take for granted. We would take for granted that, oh, this is a romance, but it seems like every romance has to be, filled with comedy, and then I'm running to the airport. Yeah. And will they get together? Oh yeah, they will, because that's how every romantic comedy is the same. There's been a sameness in the genre that I think has killed it. And what's interesting about Past Lives, it takes it very seriously. The cultural differences and the dynamic. You actually see how Nora meets her husband. They meet at this kind of writer's retreat or whatever. So I thought that was really well played. And I'm sorry I missed the Q&A. I had to go to Pasadena to see a punk band, but no, it just, I had to go. But
sure.
She was there, the actress who played Nora.
Yes.
And I just thought she was because she very easily went from English to Korean. And I feel like we're going to see her in other things. So,
yeah. I mean, she gets bit parts in big projects.
Right.
But she's very good in this. And you mentioned, the hyper stylized Hollywood romance. The other element to that is the celebrity. You want to see Tom and Meg kind of fall in love. And this one is kind of nice not to see. You see familiar people, but not stars, so to speak.
Exactly. So I would say another home run for A24. You really do have to be in the mood to see this, to see a romance that's not a romantic comedy. But I really enjoyed it, and I strongly recommend it. Let's see on our chat comments and questions what people have to say. John Manalang, Threat Level 2, has been a member for 10 months and says Fridays at 9 a.m. is always reserved for the boys. Thank God it's Film Threat. Thank you, John.
Hey, John.
We appreciate that. The Nerd Far Away says, I'm a sucker for romance movies, but Alan's right. A lot of them are kind of lame. This is not that. This movie is definitely not that. Past Lives sounds like something I'd like to see, says the Nerd Far Away. Nerd Far Away, just see the trailer. The trailer gives away a lot. You may want to cut it off halfway through, but it doesn't give up the important things you'll want to know.
Yeah, because you kind of know the ending, but it's how they get there. That's the fun.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, there are moments
or maybe you don't know the ending, but
yeah. No, I don't think so. And while there are moments of levity, this is not a comedy, not even in the least. Imperfect says sounds cliche and depressing. I mean, the thing is this: you've got to be in the mood for it.
Yeah,
I am one of the few humans I know who I actually really love broccoli, and I don't know. I just really like broccoli. If I can order broccoli with my salmon, I order broccoli. I realize not everybody likes broccoli. So it's one of those things.
I like broccoli and I like Brussels sprouts. I mean,
well, there you are.
Yeah.
You and I are probably considered weirdos now, but I would say if you see the trailer and it doesn't interest you, that'll tell you something. Lubitsch touched me, says, this sounds like my kind of movie. How would you compare it to Before Sunset, since that's kind of sort of similar? Two people reconnecting and being somewhat separated from their real life. Oh, you could do a double feature with Before Sunset. It definitely is that takes itself very seriously, male-female relationships and how they get complicated from, just life. So yeah, it's very much in that vein. And I thought the trailer was fantastic. Jimmy Cant, early Oscar contender? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think it's an Oscar contender. It's just a very good film.
I think it's not big enough. The film doesn't have a grand feeling to it that you expect from Oscars. The only way this will get nominated is if every other movie out there sucks.
Yeah. J Train says hyped for this, but no way it's better than No Way Home. Talking about Spider-Verse. We're gonna get to that. Thaddeus says, if I want to watch a romance, I'll just watch Moonstruck for the 1,000th time. So there you go. Jericho Leon says, I am intrigued by Past Lives. Refreshing to hear Chris enjoy a movie of this genre and caliber. Well, I'll say this, Jericho Leon. There are not a lot of movies like this that are made these days anymore. And that's kind of like I would like to enjoy a film like this if they made some, but they just don't. I'm telling you, the trailer is what blew my mind. Like, as soon as I saw that trailer, and A24 always has a really good taste when it comes to choosing things that are very different, that are sort of genre, like they sort of just like go beyond the genre. And so this fits that category.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'd say they tend to like to go for Oscar baity type
right
movie. I mean, Everything Everywhere All at Once was their big hit last year.
Toxic Avenger 3, too many of many movies of current era fall into the runt of formulaic predictability. This is not that. It's not formulaic and predictable. And super chat here from Positive Fandom for 999. Hey, Chris, Alan, and chat here. Hey, Across Spider-Verse was far beyond what I could have imagined. It's a fun, a passion-filled project, pushing the limits of multiverse. Spider-Punk 2. See you at SDCC, if not before. I will be at Monsterpalooza all weekend, which literally is blocks away from where I live at the Pasadena Convention Center. So if you are going to Monsterpalooza this weekend in Pasadena, I have a 3-day pass. I'll be there tonight, Saturday, and Sunday, and cannot wait. And thank you. We will see you at San Diego Comic-Con. Alan and I just received confirmation. There will be a Film Threat panel on Thursday, July 20th at 4 p.m. at the Marriott. They do panels there in the convention rooms. So Alan and I will be there, and I don't know who else is going to be on the panel, but it'll be a great panel. So please come to the Film Threat panel on the Thursday at San Diego Comic-Con. Thank you. All right. We're going to talk about, as other people are filing in, we're going to talk about another movie that Alan has seen, but I have not. We're going to talk about The Roundup. And Alan saw this film and I did not. And I want to hear his review of The Roundup.
Yes.
Alan, what did you think Alan, what did you think of the Roundup No Way Out?
Okay, so the reason I brought this movie up, it's in theaters now, very limited release. In my area, it's only at one theater, but it's a Korean cop action thriller. Stars Don Lee, and you may remember him from a Marvel hit, The Eternals. But cast that aside, the, what I like about the Roundup is it harkens back to the late '80s, early '90s of our favorite cop action dramas like Lethal Weapon, Beverly Hills Cop. They can't make these movies anymore. It's funny because it's in South Korea, and so the style of detective work and police work is very different there, and it's very eye-opening. But just a story real quick. It's South Korea. Don Lee plays a detective. His captain was just killed undercover during an undercover drug operation. There's a new drug out there called Hyper. There's a mysterious distributor who's distributing this highly addictive drug throughout South Korea, and the drugs are being supplied by the Yakuza from Japan. And so the story is about Don Lee's character figuring out who the bad guys are. At one point, a giant stash of those drugs goes missing, and the mysterious Korean overlord is the one who took it. But now there's a chase for who has the drugs. At one point, Don has it. Another point, the main bad guys have it. And so again, this is just one of these cop action movies. And the thing about Don Lee's character and what makes him different from everyone else is that he is a big man. He's a brute. His character is a former boxer, and so being a brute means two things. One is he can knock you out with a single punch, and two, he can withstand a lot of beatings. And so as the police, they'll just go in to a suspected drug den without a search warrant and just start beating people up. There's a part where there's a club where they're distributing the drugs. He just walks into the club. Searching seizure be damned, the Constitution be damned. This is South Korea. And he just starts searching, finds the drugs, and so this is that age, that time when the police would just walk in and start beating people up to get what they want. To counterbalance that, we have the Yakuza. While the police are beating people up, the Yakuza and the drug lords, they're just killing people with swords. There's not a lot of gunplay. Knives and swords are the weapons of pleasure, and it's just it's your typical movie. It's just total action, over the top crime. But again, it just brought me back to the way, back to the 80s and 90s of the cop films that I used to watch a lot and really miss, because that's not happening anymore. And I hate to say this, but outside the United States, the police, they just come in and beat people up. They don't care, your race, your creed, your gender, whatever. They just beat you up. So weirdly, that's refreshing. And as one of the comments here is, this is a sequel to the original Roundup. So apparently there's a series of films being made starring this character.
So would you recommend the Roundup?
I would. It's not the greatest film ever made. It's the film is kind of flimsy, but again, so were the action films I watched back in the 80s and 90s.
Cool. All right. And it's playing in limited release.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's get to, it seems like everyone is here to talk Spider-Verse. So let's talk Spider-Verse, because I think that's what people want to hear. This will be wait a sec. Alan?
What?
I gotta edit this.
Oh, did I spell it wrong?
No, you just added something that didn't need to be. That's all right. It's all good.
Are you talking the colon or the dash?
No, the parenthetical close.
Oh,
I'm very particular. Okay. Alan and I have both seen Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I have no idea what Alan thinks of the film. I have my own thoughts. And so, Alan, what are your initial thoughts about this film?
Okay. My initial thoughts could be summed up by a tweet that I saw recently. And here it is. uh, normalize 2-hour movies. Um,
Hey, I put that out.
yeah. In a nutshell, I really like this movie, but damn, this movie is long. And at the final act, I'm like, just end it somewhere. At least this time, unlike Fast X, I knew this was a part one, but oh my god, it just goes on forever. And this cliffhanger has to have gone on for 20 minutes. Okay, so in terms of the film itself, I liked it. I had a good time. I'm kind of looking forward to the third one. It harkens back to the original film, the art style. In the original film, you had Miles Morales. He's in this world, kind of a comic book style world. And then other characters from the other dimensions come in, the Spider-Verses, and they're in their own art styles. And this time they kind of flip it, where he's now jumping from one dimension to the next. And as he's jumping from dimension to dimension, he's in that art style, which is kind of a nice contrast. But again, this movie's long. I kind of spoiled what my daughter thought. My daughter loves this movie. She basically said it's one of her top 10 favorite movies of all time. Granted, she's not seen a lot of movies, but she absolutely adored this movie. And look, she's a big Miles Morales fan. She likes him much better than Peter Parker. So, she's a lot younger than a lot of us. So, so good, not great, and too damn long.
I love this film. I'm surprised how much I loved it. I'm really surprised. I was going into it kind of dreading it because I didn't like the trailers. I thought the trailers undersold it, or it was like, oh, this is just more of what we've already seen. How is this different? What is this about? What is the story? I was just sucked in. If you are a fan of Spider-Man, whether it's Spider-Man in the comic books, Spider-Man on television in the 70s, which I watched that old show, whether the Spider-Man cartoon, the original cartoon from the late 60s, was it late 60s or early 70s? Whether you used to play with Spider-Man action figures, whether you watched Spider-Man on the Electric Company, which was the companion to Sesame Street. So this film is about a love of not just Spider-Man, but a love of comic books, that storytelling. And I got caught up in the story that there are all these different spider people across multiverses, and they all have these defining events, and they're all very different. Miles Morales is not Peter Parker. Okay. He is his own different type of Spider-Man. And I love this. There's a scene in the sort of early half of the film where they meet a Spider-Man that's in a universe it's basically India. It's this sort of megalopolis city with Indian. It is so cool. It's like a Bollywood Spider-Man, and it's very different. Then there's Spider-Punk, and all of these different incarnations of Spider-Man, they all exist in the comics. They've been in the comics or whatnot, and they're all sort of converging at this multiverse point. And God, I loved it. Just everything from the various styles of art to, I was really impressed with the voice acting. That really impressed me. And the fact that it's a test, just a little test. I have like in my head of like, all right, am I into this during the quote boring parts? And the parts where Miles Morales interacts with his mother and father are hilarious. They're funny, they're heartfelt, they're very relatable, and it's different than Peter Parker. Miles Morales is not Peter Parker Spider-Man. He's a altogether different type of character. So, and he's 15 years old in this, which I guess would make him like what, 14 in the The one he's just a 15-year-old kid, sophomore in high school. And I mean, just sort of in the broad strokes aspects, I cannot gush about it enough. Now, the running time. I agree with you, Alan. The running time, my God, it's what, 2 hours and 20 minutes?
220, yeah.
220. It could have been cut down. Having said that, also, I wasn't bored. It moves so quickly. Everything about this movie moves so quick. And when they bring in all the different spider characters, what's the name of the one that she is on the motorcycle and pregnant?
Oh, yeah, it's Jessica Drew.
Okay. I thought that worked great. I thought it was funny. It was like endearing. And like, I don't know. I just like that all the different types of Spider-Men, spider people, because there are spider women as well. Yeah.
You know, I think it handled this multiverse very well, and kind of, you know, honestly, if Ant-Man Quantumania hadn't showed up, this would have been a much cooler gathering of Spideys. And then the ending comes, and the lead up to the ending and the explanation of Miles Morales. I'll just leave it at that. I thought was utterly fascinating in terms of this is comic book writing. You know, the position that Miles finds himself in amongst the Spider-Verse is like, you know, this is whatever happened to this kind of comic book writing, because we're just not getting that anymore. And that's pretty much why I quit reading comics like 2 years ago.
But it has that kind of things, the things that you would expect that are clever in a comic. What I like was there are parts of the film where they split the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So you see in a wide shot something happening here, something different is happening down here, but you can easily follow it like you would a comic. And it's just, there are just so many moments of cleverness in it and twists, especially with the end. The end is a big twist. We're not going to talk about it, but I can't believe how much I loved it. One thing I did, because of the length of the film, I went to the bathroom twice. Curses my bladder. But you know, I couldn't keep up with it. Sometimes it got a little distracting. I mean, this movie is definitely made for people who have ADHD. Like, it's just, look at all the stuff happening at once, because there were parts where you just see, and I'm like, oh my God, I recognize that Spider-Man, or there's the spider buggy, or there's this thing in the background, or there's this very obscure spider. Because not only did they do references to all Spider-Man in all media, that's the best way to put it. Spider-Man in the comic books, movies, video games, animated shows, every version of Spider-Man that's ever been created, including toys. There are versions of Spider-Man that you can see in this film based on toys. Okay. I just thought it was just so clever. What I was concerned about was, will it be difficult to follow the story? I think it's fairly simple. But I wonder if audiences are going to get tired of a multiverse concept. Having seen The Flash, some people are saying, well, you know, how does this compare to The Flash? They're very different. Yes, both they involve multiverse types of stories, which is kind of a bummer. They open like so close to each other. The Flash is 2 weeks from today, but God, I could rave on and on, but I'd be getting into spoiler stuff. That's the thing, is the voice act, and like they would introduce like a spider character, a new one, right? Like Spider-Punk, which voiced by the actor, what's his name? Daniel Kaluuya.
Yeah.
Voiced Spider-Punk. I could barely understand what Spider-Punk was saying because it's such a thick, was it like a Cockney accent?
I'm not sure it's Cockney, but I think
it's Cockney.
Okay.
But it, like, the accent's so thick I could barely understand, but it didn't matter. Like, I kind of got the gist of like what he was saying, but oh my God, like Spider-Punk was great. So you're not just following Miles Morales' story, and I think they made Miles Morales just very likable, right? The conflict with his family, conflicts with school, him missing Gwen. You know, they're separated, not because of, they're separated because they're in different universes, you know? And she wasn't, both of them have kind of this bond because they both really weren't supposed to be Spider-Man. They weren't supposed to be bitten by a spider. So I really like that aspect. It's like, okay, how did I get, it's just an accident. And what it did was it forced Miles to become a hero. He really, in the course of the story, he is truly becoming Spider-Man because of his experiences. I really got this, that it's like a coming of age for Miles Morales, where it's like the stakes are high. There are lives at stake, real lives of people you love, and your actions have consequences, good and bad. And I loved all the different, that when they introduced the Indian Spider-Man, they sort of go through a montage of his life and show how it's sort of similar but different. And I just loved every aspect of it. And also the movie has like 3 credited directors. Is it 3? Who are the? Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't pull up IMDb right now.
No, that's all good. It's all good. But it's
but Lord and Miller did write it along with someone else.
Yeah, it's the directors are Joaquin Dos Santos, Kemp Powers, and Justin K. Thompson. I mean, it needed 3 directors to be able to put all of that on screen. The audience I saw it with was packed and was applauding during and I'm like, oh wait, why are they applauding? It's like got to be like a character I didn't know even. Like there's so much. You have to be a Spider-Man super fan to even be able to recognize all of the references. And I didn't notice Electric Company Spider-Man. I'm just going to assume Electric Company Spider-Man was in the movie.
I think there was a title plate. Like I think it was like one of the Sony plates that looked like Electric Company.
It just man, it's like they just took everything and put it in a room, threw it together, and it's just like, all right, this is every Spider-Man thing that exists in our world. Put it in the movie in some form. And it just worked for me with a grounded, very human story against the backdrop of these epic events across multiverses where certain things were not supposed to happen. They call these they call them canon events, which is a thing that happens to every Spider-Man.
For example, Uncle Ben's death.
Right, Uncle Ben's death or the death of someone close happens to every Spider-Man, and that's just going to happen. And there are other inevitable events. I really love this film. Surprised how much I loved it. And here's how I know. We got out of the theater and everyone could not stop talking about it. It was like people left the theater, but they just stood there and talked. Strangers were talking to each other about it. And they gave out posters. Now I regret not getting one. I gave my poster to a friend and I'm like, I should have hung on to that. But God, I really loved it. And I really think I have to see it again just because there was so much to take in that I think it almost requires a second viewing.
Yeah.
And without getting into spoilers, there are 2 big flaws with this film. One, the running time. My God, please, while it didn't feel long to me, I can imagine single-digit age kids are going to get long for them. I think this is a movie for 12 or 13 and up. Any young child is just going to get bored. Just going to get it's unfortunate. Even though it's very engaging, little kids I think are not going to be able to take it. So there's the running time. The second thing is it's not a cliffhanger. The movie just abruptly ends. It just okay. To be
that was a problem. I mean, this
literally
is part 1.
Yes, I know, but maybe it's just not in the.
It's called a cliffhanger. It forces you to want to see the next movie. It ends on a really bad note for Miles, but on an inspirational note in another area.
Right.
I mean, that's pretty much how you got to end these things, in these part 1s. So I have zero problem with the ending. The ending.
All right. Well, I just felt it was just very abrupt, and I felt like I also felt like while it didn't feel long to me, it could have been shorter. It could have been shorter.
Yeah, I'll tell you my problem with the movie, and it takes place right up front with the Gwen Stacy story.
Mm.
The animation art style, I thought while watching it I was in big trouble for the next 2 hours. But it's when you have a film that's in a odd art style, this whole movie is about the art styles and visually, I'll say. And hers was so confusing and so, I think there were too many tight shots that, it was hard to kind of get an idea of place in the scene, to know how the action is moving around the city and around the room. It just seemed like action was being forced there. And I was having a hard time finding context as to where characters were in a room or in a city. And it got really frustrating. And miraculously, once you got into Miles' world, the problem cleared itself up, and you knew where in New York he was, or you knew where in the room he was. That's really my own main problem with the gimmick, the Spider-Man gimmick here.
Well, the gimmick is that there are different visual styles depending on the Spider-Man. So who has the dominant style, right?
Yeah. And then how do you use that style to tell your story? And I just felt like it started off on a weak point.
That didn't bother me, because as someone who's been reading comics since I was a kid, I appreciate when someone brings something different. There is a certain style, of an illustrator, writer team conveys a certain style, and this one, a certain character would come on, and then that would inform that style, right? Like Spider-Punk had a very different visual look of just how Spider-Punk looked, and then how Spider-Punk like interacted, and then the things even surrounding Spider-Punk just looked different than the rest of the movie.
Yeah, I'm okay with different. Yeah, but I'm okay with different, but you've got to manage that. You've got to still be able to tell a story that's not confusing, and it's not that the story of the action was confusing, but it was just the setting and the context that was difficult to manage at that point. It's a really abstract art discussion we're having here.
Well,
but it really bothered me up front.
Well, I like that because it's one thing. What normally an animated movie has a style and that's it. You've got they have like a Bible and like it must be this way. And it's like they had different, it's like, okay, this character is this style, this character is that style, this character. And I love that. I love that aspect. Like being a fan of comics and seeing a character that's existed as long as Spider-Man has. When was Spider-Man created? It was Amazing Fantasy number 15, which was in, I want to say 1963. Was Spider-Man created the year? So fact check me, please. Chat knows. Chat or the internet knows. It was 1963, Amazing Fantasy 15. Okay. So I just, I having seen a character that's lasted as long as that character has. Okay, so Spider-Man has been around 60 years and has gone through many different styles and different storylines. And, I am like, Miles Morales is a new character, and some people might have a problem with Miles Morales. I actually think that they made Miles very likable in this movie. But Miles Morales isn't Peter Parker Spider-Man. That's a different character. But Peter Parker Spider-Man is in this. The other thing that I thought worked so well was the Peter Parker Spider-Man with the baby.
Yeah.
Oh my, or he's like bringing the baby with him. Oh my God.
And the baby has powers, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, the chat is saying 1962. My apologies. 1962, Amazing Fantasy 15. At least I got that right. Yeah.
Look, I'll say this about Miles Morales. I liked Miles Morales when he debuted 10 years ago, the Brian Michael Bendis Ultimate Comics. And it was the setting was Ultimate Comics, so to me that was the chance to take the old Marvel characters, bring them into a modern age, and keep it separate from the original. And so I liked Miles Morales specifically because he was, in junior high when he got his powers, which is a new dynamic. Honestly, I haven't really followed what they've done to him since, but I did like that story, and I do like the character, and I do like the position the character's in and the stories they're telling it, and the stories are very accurate to in Spider-Verse to those original Miles Morales tales. But yes, he's not Peter Parker.
He's not Peter Parker. It's different story,
and that's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
But the thing is, I liked the fact that he existed in the Ultimate Comics universe, and you got to get to know him in that setting versus in the 616.
Well, the thing is this: I strongly recommend seeing this film, and I will see it again. I really enjoyed it that much and did not expect to. It was very, very surprising. In addition to, there's so many other aspects we could praise about the film: the voice acting, the music, all the various convergences of art styles, which is, if you're someone who's read like a comic on a long enough timeline, things will change, right? Like Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, were the team for the first 100 issues of the Fantastic Four. Then it went to a different team, and it became slightly different and explored different. What's interesting is how so many different people in comics will contribute to the legacy and the world of a character. So this is sort of the culmination of that. It is literally about Star Wars fandom. Whether you're a fan of Peter Parker, or a fan of Spider-Punk, or a fan of Miles Morales, this movie has everything for every Spider-Man fan, if that makes any sense. And that's why I really enjoyed it, because, I'm seeing things in the background, and God, I'm probably going to have to get the disc of this film, because I hope that there is a behind the scenes that actually where you can identify like all of the different Spider-Man and then the sources for it. Like I had, when I was a kid, Amigo Spider-Man action figure that had like red hands, a Spider-Man head, and then it was basically a body that had on like a cloth Spider-Man outfit. I played with that thing. I put it on a string and I would spin it around and toss it and just play with it. This is when kids played with physical objects rather than screens. This was a bygone era. Okay. But yeah, I had a Spider-Man Mego action figure when I was a kid and loved that thing. I had Spider-Man. Oh my God. And I probably almost hurt myself doing this. I remember they had these Spider-Man things with suction cups. You could shoot webs.
Yeah.
I can definitively tell you, could not hold the weight of a young boy. 100% couldn't. I mean, they're basically for fun, for a goof. Okay. But yeah. And then the Spider-Man cartoon, when I was a kid, loved that cartoon. I mean, a lot of that stuff holds up, actually. The sort of jazz score, the rotoscoping on Spider-Man in that animated series, the very first Spider-Man animated, where they actually took film of a gymnast and then just rotoscoped over the gymnast Spider-Man. So there you go.
Yeah. Should we talk about the big question?
What's the big question?
Woke? Is it woke?
Oh, are people asking that? Yeah. I mean, the thing is this: there may have in fact been things in the background. I know there was like a thing on social media with a like poster of like a like.
Well, it was. I saw it. It was.
I
in
didn't
Gwen
see
Stacy's bedroom. It says "Protect Trans Kids."
Where did it say
written
this?
on the wall? In Gwen Stacy's bedroom in the first 20 minutes.
I didn't even notice it.
Yeah,
I didn't even notice it.
I saw it there. I will say, with the exception of that, I wouldn't say this movie was woke. And I'll point to the fact that being white wasn't an issue in this movie. Being black wasn't an issue in this movie. Being Latino wasn't an issue in this movie. It was just a Spider-Man tale.
But
And
what I like was the multiculturalism.
mhm,
Like you see, like the Indian Spider-Man, I thought was particularly inspired. I
yes,
thought that was really well done. And
yeah,
Spider,
I guess that was the Asian representation.
yeah, exactly. Wait, Alan, you have to. You got to
Yeah,
do
no,
that again.
it's too late. Yeah, redo that. Yeah, that's how comedy works. Just redo the joke.
Yeah,
It's
just do it. Just say the joke again, and it'll be
no,
funny the second
no,
time.
Glenn
No.
can Glenn can clip what I just did.
all,
Yeah,
all,
yeah. There wasn't a whole lot of people that looked like me, but there were Asians
no,
in
there
it.
was the one, the girl in the
The
robot
one.
thing.
You just said
Yeah, there was the one. You got one. Aren't you happy?
Yeah.
Happy, Alan?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Uh,
Okay. Look, this is the interesting point. You know, my daughter. One of the reasons why this movie is in her top 10 is because she related to Miles' story in a very personal way, and yeah, she saw herself. You know, and that's why I say it's not skin color, it's not your gender, it's not all this other crap. It's experience. If your character experiences the same thing you experience, then you are seen. That's how that works, not the other way around. And that's why my daughter is so connected with this movie, because she felt emotionally the impact of the hero of the movie, much like Luke Skywalker sitting out in the middle of the desert looking at the two suns. You know, the boys all over the world understood exactly what Luke was going through at that point, and they felt seen. Okay.
See, that's it. I felt the same way in the sense that, like, just trying to balance your life and get the favor of your parents, right? Just
Right.
and please them while also trying to do well in school and whatnot. Like all those things are relatable. That's why I think Spider-Man has been a character that's endured through. I mean, Spider-Man, by the way, endured 60 years, and Spider-Man is the number one most popular superhero. Period. End of story. The second one that comes close, but there's a wide margin, is Batman. Batman is second. How do we know this? Has to do with merchandise sales. So when it comes to licensing and merchandise sales, the number one superhero for merchandise is Spider-Man. And what I like is you can have many different versions of Spider-Man, and you can see yourself, whether you look like that person or not, in a particular Spider-Man's story.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting to see the popularity of Miles Morales, but I don't think what I like about this is it doesn't take away from Peter Parker. There's been an effort in other storytelling, we've talked about it before, where it's like, in order for a new hero to elevate, they have to basically suppress the legacy character. That's not the case here. That's why this multiverse concept in this sense, I think, really, really works well. And we're going to tell it through the story of Miles Morales, who even is like, he wasn't technically supposed to be Spider-Man. That spider that bit him.
Well, hold on. I think you're getting to spoilers.
Oh shoot. Okay, sorry. Yeah. But yeah. So that's not super spoilery. But like,
it's not. But honestly, I like the reveal of that, and that was a surprise.
Well, here, would you recommend Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Alan?
Yes, I would. Just know ahead of time. It's long. And it felt long. I mean, my God, that ending, I wanted that ending to end sooner than it did. And it just kept going.
Yeah, I will say same thing. Recommend, but too long, and you're not going to see a full story.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I mean, if they're smart, the sequel should be around 2 hours.
Hopefully, which comes out in March. So it's going to be quick, less than a year. Let's go to your comments and questions and continue the conversation.
By the way, Spider-Man, this movie was originally slated for, I believe, October or November.
What happened?
Well, I guess a spot opened, and Sony wants to make money.
Well, there you go.
So it was done early.
Golden Arrow Music for 199 says, I can argue the defense for not Star Wars. All right. Contact us. Go to filmthreat.com/contact, and there you go. So thank you for that golden arrow music. We appreciate it. Bush and Ryu Cat for 5. Hail Chris, Allen, and chat. Sorry, not Spider-Man related, but I just heard that Aquafina rap on Little Mermaid movie. It makes me want to shoot seagulls. Sorry. They released it on YouTube. Disney released that song, the Aquafina rap, and it's terrible.
Yeah, not only that, you could have saved it with animation, but not with the way they did it.
No.
But they couldn't have saved it. Let me just put it that way. But they could have tried at least.
Thank you, Bush and Rio Cat. Gab A for 5. Ever since I heard about Spoiler in the Flash, I've been thinking about old buddy John Schnepp. I know he would have loved it. I miss him. Yep, John Schnepp, one of my favorite humans, friend for over 30 years. And I think about John every day. John really inspired me to start doing YouTube. He just, because he would have me on his show, Collider Heroes, and I'm like, I don't know if I really want to. Should I be doing YouTube? I don't know. He goes, just start talking. He goes, don't worry about equipment or microphone. Just start talking to the camera and talk to the audience. And I took his advice. And I think about John every day. Thank you, Gabe. I appreciate that. Elliot Cecil for 499. Lord and Miller clearly know their comics, especially when Peter turns into a certain green animal. That's so great.
I'll be honest. I want to see the Lord Miller solo cut.
This is the thing is like almost everything that Lord and Miller have done has been so good.
Yeah.
What solo could have been if they had just leaned into their creativity would have been amazing.
Yeah. I mean, well, thank God we got the Lego movie that year.
Yeah. Yeah. So there you go. And Elliot Cecil goes on to say for $4.99, hopefully they don't go the way of the Ultimate Spider-Man and kill Peter in the MCU and Miles becomes the main MCU Spider-Man.
No, they did that in the first movie. They killed Peter and that's how Miles becomes Spider-Man. So it's already been done. It's already been done.
Well, but what he's saying, what Elliot is saying is in the MCU.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So
okay, yeah. I hope they don't go that way either.
But it might. It might.
Yeah.
So there you go. Arcane.
First of all, Marvel's not going to get Spider-Man back. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, for sure. It's clearly a Sony property, and that's it. Arcane Stork for 10. I believe that Disney is guilty, but the defense made a good point. What's the point of a trial when the jury is so biased and would never change their minds? But here's the deal, Arcane Stork. Defend it then. Change the minds of the people in the jury, in our jury, in the chat. Change minds. If you can't make a compelling argument, what more can be said? Someone needs to come on. And the fact that like the guy who was going to come on and on the defense next week is deciding not to do it, it's BS. Defend your point. Debate. I'm really sick of people on two sides of an issue that won't actually discuss the issue. They're just, you're wrong, or they're just going to call you a name. That I'm done with that. It's not my attitude. My attitude is you step up and you defend your point. And that's and let's see if you can change hearts and minds. But thank you, Arcane Stork.
By the way, in the future, we got to get off of the exact wording that we put the charges in.
Yeah. That's not. If you're gonna parse the words to win a debate, that's not. Yeah. No, you have to discuss like the substance. Yeah. Golden Arrow Music for $4.99. Hey Chris, I can do the defense for Critics Court if you need. I will have to research some bad faith arguments on Twitter, but I can play this role. All right. Well, you know how to contact us. Go to filmthreat.com/contact. Pop me an email. I'll talk to you. Bush and Ryu Cat for 5. I think it's time for a live action Thundercats movie. Make it the origin story of them escaping Thundera up to first run in with Mumra. Who directs?
Yeah.
Michael Bay. That is what I'm going to say.
And then what I think they should do is like take the main Thundercat and make him a dog. Or a squirrel, just for
Alan, you're hired.
Yes.
Latino slant. I think Alan is sore because there was not an Asian Spider-Man.
No, there's one.
Yeah.
And of course, there was the Indian main Spider-Man who got a lot of screen time.
Right. Well, then there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, Paulie, I think Paulie liked the movie as much as I did. But I have to, Paulie, you're using me in thumbnails. You're using me in your like early review things. I don't know if I should be doing this. I don't know if I should be like that. Your channel is your channel. But
no, I kind of like Chris's drunk take after.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. My drunk on the movie, we're saying, not actual alcohol. Let's see. MK Solid 82 for 199. Thoughts on Danny Masterson? The guy's life is over. Well, that's a hard turn on topic. Yeah. I have not kept up with that. Yeah. And yeah, I mean he's going to jail, right?
Yeah. That's what I understand. I like you, I've not followed it at all. I don't know. I haven't really. I mean, that's a whole other discussion, but it's like if I were to keep up on every celebrity's life, especially Danny Masterson, who I know very little of, I just know that 70s show.
I know him from that 70s show. I don't know. Never really stood out to me. Yeah, if I kept up with the lives of celebrities, I wouldn't have a life of my own. And so, yeah, I don't really have any thoughts on an MK Solid 82. But
the only thing I'll say is he went to court.
199.
Yeah, he went to court. Charges were filed. Jury came back with a guilty verdict. You know, that says it all for me.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll just say this. I think there are many more Danny Masterson types in this industry. Mm-hmm. Let's just say that. Travis Schiffer for 5. I would have loved gone against Ryan Cannell. I have already put in my stuff. Lol 199. Okay, cool. Yeah, you could go against Ryan. Ryan might be back before the end of the trial, or maybe at the very end, maybe in the closing arguments. But he did a bang up job. He really knocked it out of the park. He came with receipts, and so there you go. Jimmy Touchdown for 5. I like Critics Court. Would be better if each team was required to have a PowerPoint outlining arguments, pointing exhibits, evidence. Campea sucks. Okay.
Well, that comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. Well, you know, he must be a subscriber to the Campea Exposed channel, which apparently I made an appearance on.
Yes, you did.
But I will say about
you got paid, so that's
John literally texted me a few days later after that video surfaced, and he's like, dude, like it was a misunderstanding. It got dropped and he paid me immediately. He Venmo'd me immediately. So, you know, Campea's fine in my book because he honored his commitment.
Yeah.
So
he admitted the mistake.
Right. I will say it is sort of sad for me to see him imploding before our eyes. So, because he gave me a shot on, you know, when he was doing his show, he had me on as a recurring guest. Then I was on Collider Heroes. But I think he's going through some life things right now that have nothing to do with YouTube. But my only advice to him would be whatever you're dealing with in your life, keep it off YouTube. Mm-hmm. But he's going through something right now. And I feel for him. Chris, bring back the goatee. It will be silver, says MK Solid 82 for 199. Yeah, I would look like Worf from Picard season 3. All right, here we go. Carbon Heart, shots fired. I'm done with Alan's jealous beta takes. Heroes need to be heroes, not submissive cowards like him. How is Alan a submissive coward?
Yeah,
I don't think that makes any sense, that comment. Yeah. But here's the thing. What you're seeing is through Miles is the hero's journey. Miles has to step up. He has to become Spider-Man, not Spider-Kid. He's a 15-year-old kid who can't show up on time for a meeting, who is kind of screwing up in school. And this is what I think makes Spider-Man just as a concept, such a relatable character, is because no matter how much good Spider-Man does, he is going to suffer in some other area of his life, whether it be his family life, his love life, his school and education, his career, as a photographer, all of us struggle. You're trying to reach that life balance. You're trying to level up and do your best, but no matter what, not everything is going to go perfectly as planned. And that is the appeal, I think, of Spider-Man as a character, whether it's Miles Morales or Peter Parker. Like, the appeal is that concept of, I'm this hero in the costume and I'm saving people and I'm being I'm contributing to society by being a good person, and even with that, I'm getting grounded, or I'm unlucky in love, or whatever. And that aspect is just very appealing, and it works so well. Just Spider-Man as a whole character.
Look,
so, you're about to say, sorry,
much like life, adversity builds character. And that's what the entire Marvel universe is built on. These heroes, something happened to their life to make them who they are. And it's not just some chemical accident or some mutation, genetic mutation. There has to be something that, this is what it's like to be a human being. We all go through adversity. And the hard times in our lives makes us a better person, which is the problem with this current generation, is because we are trying to protect and coddle them so that they're not able to become strong in mind, strong of will. And we're raising a weak generation of children. And that's, and we're paying for it at the moment.
Right. Let's see, more comments here. We have a lot of comments. And we're going to respond because it's a conversation. Loved the art in this movie, says Wizard Shack, who is a member. Thank you for that. My Kingdom for a Film, also a member. Spider-Man is so refreshing, especially that it's a sequel. I think it's stronger than the first film. Feeling very encouraged for future films after watching. Yeah, this is much better than the first one. What?
I disagree. I like the first one better. Sorry.
All right. Well,
I'll be honest. The first one's better because it was more grounded. And I tend to like those stories more than this. But, to each his own.
The daughter of Alan Ing hath spoken, says Imperfect. Dave T. Geek says, if my son has had a photosensitive seizure before, should he skip this movie?
Yes.
Yeah, I hate to say that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would not take the risk. It's very, very glitchy. As a style, it's, yeah, I think he should skip it. I wouldn't take the risk. Which is unfortunate. Maybe that would work on television, but at a movie theater, dark movie theater with wouldn't take the risk. Does it live up to the first Spider-Verse, or is it even better, says Alan Horkin? Well, Alan likes the first one better. I like this one better.
Yeah, but it was definitely a good follow-up, a good sequel.
Okay. Jazz Dub says every kid has their generational films, each to their own. It's cool, Alan.
Yeah, we had a long discussion about Peter Parker versus Miles Morales on the ride home.
Well, I'd like to hear that discussion.
Yeah.
What'd you guys talk about?
I mean, it's just, I think that point is the main point. It's, each generation has their heroes, and Miles Morales happens to fall into my daughter's generation. Peter Parker, I grew up with Peter Parker when I was a kid, and vice versa for her. Miles for her.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Miles Morales. In fact, I think Miles Morales is appealing in a different way that Peter Parker is appealing, right? But what I do like is that honor is paid to the legacy. Like, in a way, like, at least in the last movie, Miles is kind of, looks up to Peter, almost like an older brother. And I felt like that dynamic really worked. But I like this movie better, even. Kind of, I know, surprising.
Yeah.
Dave T. Geek says Miles Morales can't be the best Spider-Man movie. Miles Morales is Miles Morales. We're just asking. We're just trying to get you to click on the thumbnail. We're trying to get people who don't.
It's clickbait.
Don't you understand the point of thumbnails? It's clickbait. It's to get you to click on it and watch it.
Believe me, we've had discussions. We've had discussions about thumbnails. And
yeah. But I love Glenn does an amazing job with the thumbnails. I just don't want to like push it with certain things. Not all of us can be like Ryan Kinnell, where the thumbnail, about half of Ryan's thumbnails are "we're fucked." Like I laugh every time I see it. It's like, oh, it's another "we're fucked" video. I'm gonna watch this one. I crack up, but yeah, no, we're just trying to get you to. We're trying to get you to watch. We're trying to get people who don't watch the channel to subscribe and watch the channel.
Yeah, but I'll just say that's where Marvel went wrong. Was the Miles needed to remain in the Ultimate Universe, and Peter Parker needed to remain in the 616, and you can tell both stories parallel. And now that Marvel has conflated the two, like I said, I've bailed. I've bailed on them.
More comments here. Thaddeus says last 15 to 20 of the film definitely dragged on. I would agree. Too much Miles family stuff. Wokeness sprinkled throughout, but the animation and soundtrack were fantastic. Great film for the Dolby Theater too. Yeah, I saw it in a Dolby, and oh my God, the seats were like, was your theater, the seats shaking?
I saw an IMAX.
Yeah, though I think it depends on how you define wokeness. I will say this. Anything that may have been woke in the movie didn't distract me. And I didn't even notice that poster. So I think there's just so much happening on screen. I'm sure there's even more stuff I missed. I know that I missed stuff just because, like, I mean, there are just certain shots you're going to have to go through it. I'm going to have to watch one of those like Screen Rant videos where they like will tell you all the stuff that's in it. And man, this was just like, but it didn't distract.
Yeah. It's like, it was like Lightyear, where everyone's talking about the 3 seconds of that movie. And it overwhelms the entire movie. But I don't know that this will overwhelm it, but it was certainly there, and we know the reason why it was there.
Yeah. Thank you, Thaddeus. And a Rumble rant from Mike Has Bad Knees for $1. If it wasn't for recent reviews, I had no idea that this was just a part 1. The advertising is misleading on that. I would agree. Mike Has Bad Knees.
It was. I know it was announced a year ago that would be a 2-parter, but I've heard no one talk about it since.
Yeah, it didn't. They really needed to like push it much harder. But I was like, because I mean, you saw Fast X, you didn't know it was a part 1.
Nope.
I can't believe that we have 3 big movies this year that are all part 1s.
Yeah, but at least I'm excited about the 3rd one coming out, the Mission Impossible.
Right. Yeah. So, okay. More of your chats. Pregnant on a motorcycle? Maybe in context, says Joey Martinez. It worked. It just worked for me. Did it not work for you, Alan?
You know what it was? Okay, here's what it was. The mention that she was pregnant happened when they introduced her. And then it was pretty much dropped for the rest of the movie. This is a complaint I have about indie comedies. Just because you present a weird idea, it has to pay off. And in this case, she's pregnant on a motorcycle. All right, that's it. The rest of the movie, you could care less if she was pregnant. In fact, she could have not been pregnant, and it would have changed nothing about her character nor her role in the story. And that's my problem with pregnant Jessica Drew. At least do something with it other than just make her pregnant.
Right. But I
Have her
thought
give birth during a battle scene.
Well, I just thought the thing that was cool was the motorcycle was cool.
Okay, yeah.
That worked for me. I don't know.
I don't know.
I like these very, very different Spider-Man characters, Spider people. It worked for this movie because that's the whole conceit of this movie is there are a bunch of different and they're very different. Like Spider-Punk, who's great point, Ing. And Jinx also goes on to say sequel baiting.
Yeah, I mean that's what part 1s are.
Yeah.
At least they're being intentional about it. cliffhangers. This has been a part of movie marketing since the very beginning. A cliffhanger to get you to go see the next movie.
Lubitsch touched me. Multiverse stories don't interest me because they basically say nothing matters. I have no doubt it's a well-made movie, but not for my taste. I would say give this one a try in the sense that the stakes do matter. Like what happens in this multiverse, it all has stakes. It's not like it can be erased by, well, there's just another whatever. This movie really lays out what the stakes are, and I thought it was very well done. But yeah, multiverse stories, I think audiences after the second one comes out of this across the multiverse, I think it's gonna I think people are gonna be done with it. I think of like multiverse stories, although they're building up. Marvel's building up, right?
I mean, that's the whole point of the Avengers movie.
What's going to happen with Kang? Are they going to recast Kang? What's going on with that?
Or they'll just use a different Jonathan Majors. Exactly. They need to find an actor whose name is Jonathan Majors and hire that guy.
Seems like a pretty common name. You should be able to find somebody.
Yeah.
The Chicago Box. Time travel and multiverse are both lazy writing tropes, in my opinion. Well, I mean, one of the greatest, what you would describe as a short list of movies you could call a perfect movie. I would say Raiders of the Lost Ark is on that list. And I would also say that Back to the Future is on that list. And that's a time travel story with real stakes.
How is Raiders of the Lost Ark a time travel movie?
I'm not saying it's time travel. I'm saying it's on a list of perfect movies.
Oh, okay.
And additionally on that list is Back to the Future, which is a time travel movie. I'm just saying there's a short list of movies I would consider perfect. Like there's nothing I would change about them.
Yeah.
And one of them is a time travel movie.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Sorry, I said that too quickly. I need more coffee is what I need. Mr. Smith, is a cliffhanger the best thing to do when you have a writer's strike, which is going to stretch how long the sequel will take? It's already scheduled to come out in March, and I'm sure that it was finished being written a long time ago.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to need rewrites.
Yeah, I think we're good. Want Biscuits. I think the moment my kid and his friend get on their phones during the movie, they're 13, by the way, that's how long the movie should have been. Oh, that's a great gauge. I love that. Want Biscuits. It's like when a kid gets on their phone, I don't know why they don't like test these. If a kid gets on the phone, that,
yeah,
I don't know.
Well, yeah, they used to do that. They used to bring their target audience in, show them the movie, see how it goes, and then make changes. But they don't teach that in school anymore.
All right. Latino slant for 5. What are you doing, Paulie? Announcing Gore's review bombing and thumbnail proliferating will no longer be tolerated in any slant videos. I hear Eric Weber is up for the job. Look, Paulie, I'm busting your balls, dude. And Alan said he liked my drunken rant. I was drunk on the movie. But yeah, I think I should probably more tease what I'm going to talk about the next day. So yeah, definitely. Sure. You can go to Eric Weber's movie meetup. He'll have you. Elliot Cecil for 199. Can we talk spoilers? I've got a question. Yes, we should put up. Let me get through some more of these chat questions, Elliot, and then let's talk spoilers. Demi.
By the way, we still have the Boogeyman and Rob Savage, the director, coming up later. So.
That's in like 40 minutes.
Okay.
We'll get to the Boogeyman. So we'll talk about this stuff for at least another 30, let's say 30 minutes. Demi Moore's Tapeworm. What are these names coming up with, folks? Demi Moore's Tapeworm for $4.99. Miles Morales is a beta Spider-Man. He doesn't even take his father's surname, but his mother's maiden name. Shake my head. But I think that Miles Morales is a younger version. We've seen Spider-Man become a man. Watching the character of Spider-Man, he was a kid in high school. Then he went to college. Then he married Mary Jane, and we've seen him grow. Miles Morales is at the beginning of his journey. He's a kid. He is not fully Spider-Man yet. And what I believe that we're seeing through this story is we're seeing Miles Morales become that hero, because he's not there yet. He can do spider things, but he's really not fully Spider-Man yet.
He's a kid. I mean, the one thing about Spider-Man when I was reading it was he was already an adult at that time.
Yeah.
I came in after his teen years of being Spider-Man, and this is kind of a way to bring it. But I think the point that everyone's making is the fear that Marvel is going to kill off Peter Parker and dub Miles Morales as the Spider-Man. And I think that would be a very bad decision on Marvel and Disney's part.
Matthew Hammond for 2. Miles Morales is Miles Morales, Gary Buechler.
And then I think that speaks to
Gary.
As well. Yeah.
I love Gary. I hung out with Gary this week. He's in town for some business, and we got to hang out. And I can't wait to hear what Gary thinks of this movie. I didn't want to ask him, but FNT is early today. FNT starts at noon. If you'd like to know what Gary Buechler thought of this film, you can find out at noon Pacific time today, because they're doing an earlier FNT, and I can't wait to watch. Yeah, Gary, I love Gary's takes. I don't know if I disagree with him, but who cares? We've disagreed on movies. He may hate it, but I think he's going to find things to like. Perfect movie list when, says Matthew Hammond. We'll have to do that as a bit someday. We'll do that. I'll make a list and we'll go through it.
I have a few.
You know what we should do, Alan? We should each make separate perfect movie lists, and we reveal what our number 10. Then we go number 9. Then we go number 8.
I don't know the 10 perfect movies, but we could do that.
Well, a list of perfect. If you can come up with 10, try. But
I think I can come up with 5. Definitely, I can come up with 5.
Here's the worst part. I'm thinking movies I would put on the list, then I'm like, oh yeah, but there's this thing in that.
Yeah, exactly.
Elliot Cecil, we're gonna get to spoilers in just a minute.
By the way, my daughter wants to see Dial of Destiny, but we've pledged to see the first 3 beforehand.
Has she seen them?
No, but Fathom Events is doing Raiders Lost Ark weekend.
I am at Monster Palooza in Pasadena. If you are going to be at Monster Palooza in Pasadena, look for my hair. It stands out. Let's talk spoilers.
All right.
So here's your warning. We're talking spoilers.
Come back at maybe quarter till.
What's that?
Come back at quarter till if you're
come back in about like 20 minutes and we'll be done with this. But Alan, let's talk spoilers. Why don't you begin, because I have to get another cup of coffee. I'll be right back.
Spoilers, gosh. Didn't we get to most of it? I mean, the big one, I guess we'll talk about is just why Miles is who he is. And this was the most interesting thing to me, if story-wise. You know, we're in the Spider-Man 2099 realm. All the Spidey people are there. Spider-Man, Spider-Man, whatever. But for some reason, Miles is singled out, and apparently he was bitten by a spider from the wrong dimension in the first movie. And Spider-Man should have never been who he was. Peter Parker never should have died in his universe. And I believe Chris alluded to Spider-Gwen being the same way, but I'm not sure about that. Yeah, to me, that was kind of the bright point of the movie in terms of me feeling like, okay, this is a comic book. You know, this is a comic book story to bring in Miles and say that he doesn't even belong in this universe. And kind of, you know, and that's kind of the way he feels at home with his family, with his mom and his dad. And to me, that was the move. That was the story point that sold me on this movie at that point, which occurs later on. But in terms of other spoilers, I'm not. Oh yeah, I guess, you know, I don't know. I'm kind of waiting for this is surprised on me, but that to me, that's the only real spoiler of this movie. Let's see. Here, we'll wait for Chris to come back, and we'll get to a few more of your comments. Um, let's see. Joy Martinez says Chris is spot on almost every time. He's spot on almost every time. Quator. I want some more young Chris reviews. Eyes pink, heart shape. Okay. Yes, Chris is very sexy. Back in his youth. What happened? Hannibal Grimm, of the new characters in Marvel, I like Miles. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. Which brings us to this next question, comment. Harbinger of Chaos. How can you like Miles? Gary is right. He has no stories or history. What? The fact one parent got killed by Venom, that as the hallmark? His book was flopping and no one wanted to write him. I'll be honest. I read the original Brian Michael Bendis run of Miles. So that's my context. And personally, I thought it was pretty good. I think, it was just placing the Peter Parker type character of Miles Morales in the past, or in younger, being the junior high, having Genki along, and just trying to find his way as a much younger hero than Peter Parker was. And I even like Spider-Man. And then after that, I just got out of comics again. I've explained that before. John Tube 2K. Was there a cosmic Spider-Man in the movie? There probably was. I'm not exactly sure who that refers to. The Nerd Far Away. I enjoy the trip down memory lane today. Yeah. In my screening, there was definitely people hooping and hollering when a specific Spider-Man appeared. This was a nice journey down the Spider-Man history, and you're gonna get that too in the Flash when that comes up. Yeah, were there certain spoilers that you wanted to hit on, or?
Yeah, just a minute though. Somebody said that my audio is staticky. Is it still staticky? I kind of checked the cables.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hearing you right. I'm hearing you okay.
I'm hearing you okay. I'm staticky. Am I still staticky? Let me know.
Yeah, I'm hearing you fine.
Okay, yes or no? Nope, it's fixed. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. Cool. So now open chat on spoilers here. I'm enjoying the trip down memory lane today. Well,
was there a certain spoiler that you
I think the ending I thought was a great twist where Miles goes back to a universe. His mom is kind of confused. Is that a Comics Con thing? He reveals to mom, I'm Spider-Man, and she doesn't know what Spider-Man is. So he came to a universe where there's no Spider-Man.
Yeah, I thought that was a great twist.
That was a great twist, and then realizes that his uncle's still alive. Okay, that's weird. And then there's a villain that is about to just dispense with Miles, and it ends up being Miles. It's so good. And then the movie just ends. And then Gwen realizes that he's in the wrong. I thought it was such a great twist. I just thought it really worked for me. It just worked for me. Your mileage may vary, but yeah, it's I thought it just was great. Wait, you've got Rob Savage coming on, says Hannibal Grimm. Yes, he will be here in 30 minutes. So Hannibal Grimm, get ready with your questions for Mr. Rob Savage, the director of The Boogeyman. We will be talking to him soon. Continuing with your comments, and we're in full spoiler talk now. Okay, we are in full spoiler talk. I do love this ending. It's so weird. Everyone's saying it's the Empire Strikes Back of Spider-Verse movies. It's like, fine. You can't, just because the way that the Empire Strikes Back, the way that ended at the time was such a big, it was such a big deal at that time. Like, that doesn't mean that every time, Miles Morales didn't get his hand cut off by his dad. And it's a very different, it's definitely a cliffhanger ending, but it's not Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah. Oh, I remember Empire, the 3-year cliffhanger.
3 years you had to wait.
3 years.
Yeah, like we're spoiled now. The second Spider-Verse film will be out. The follow-up to this part 2 is going to be out in March, unless they move it. What if they moved it to the fall? They see an opening.
They could. What, March is the slow period of time for films.
Yeah. Real quick, Wayo says, "What's up with those Kamen Rider looking screen caps in Alan's TV?" So I was supposed to see Shin Kamen Rider. It was a Fathom Events thing, and I did not end up going to see it. So we were going to discuss it on the show, and are no longer. And the screenshots are the movies that we're covering today. So you can see the screenshot from Past Lives in the background of Alan right now. And so it's cycling through the movies we're covering. The problem with Alan and I, we'll get talking about one film kind of dominates, but that's why we're trying to change up how we do things. We'll talk about a couple smaller films at the top, then get to the main film, and then maybe some more small films. But we are going to talk about the Boogeyman. So the original plan was to talk about Shin Kamen Rider. I don't know if I will see it again if there are more screenings, but I didn't notice more screenings. It's one of those Fathom event things are great, but they're like usually one screening, one day, one time, and that's it. So if you miss it, you blew it. And that kind of, I don't like that, but it is what it is. I wish they would play like maybe one screening, but like every day for a week. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the deal they have at the theaters, because they're literally renting out that one theater. And so it comes down to like what Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's 2 days, 2 screenings.
Yeah. Let's Elliot Cecil, thank you for your patience for $4.99. The ending was a bit dragged, but the reveals were awesome and misleading, which I loved. And the ending gave me Back to the Future Part 2 vibes. Oh, that's great. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, like that. The ending worked for me. There's like the 20 minutes leading to the ending that they could have just gone like this and just moved it. What do you think, Alan?
Yeah. The ending it wouldn't end. It just wouldn't end. And I remember sitting there going, I know this is a part 1. Just end this damn thing. In terms of Back to the Future, at least Back to the Future, they give you clips of the third movie at the end of the second one.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, I really like the ending, but you're right. It didn't feel long, but it could have been shorter. There's no reason it needed to be. I don't understand. Don't they realize there's a secondary market for like, here's the theatrical version. It's an hour and 45 minutes. Get the extended cut. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes. They're missing that means you buy the movie twice, basically. If you have confidence enough in your movie and you think it's really good, do 2 versions. I love that. I love it. There's a special edition of Aliens that's longer. Not by much, but I love that kind of stuff. I really like, if it's a movie I really love, show me here's the theatrical. The theatrical exists and the new extended cut exists. So there you go. Thank you, Elliot. Call sign Alucard for $9.99. Shout out to best friend's nephew who is graduating Marine Corps boot today, TJ. Well, Semper Fi and Ura. And thank you for your service. That's great, call sign Alucard. That's awesome. Congratulations to your best friend's nephew. That is an achievement. And I've gone to that ceremony after, boot camp, after they are Marines. It's really amazing. So that's awesome. More questions, comments here. A Rumble from Rumble, Winter Soldier sub supporter. The I must cheer for something I recognize crowd was strong last night. Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. It's fine. I mean, I got caught up in it. So what can I say? Like, I'm like, oh wow, like this spider buggy is there.
Yeah, by the way, this was nothing compared to the the uproarious applause after Ariel sings "Part of Your World."
Yeah. Yeah. Elliot Cecil for $4.99. I loved the eeriness of the twist and seeing the dilapidated New York with no Spider-Man. It felt very dystopian. Also, the misdirect between Miles and Gwen. Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really well handled. It was just, God, it was a really good ending, so it was worth it. Nicholas Varga for $4.99. The physical media market no longer wants to do multiple cuts, cost cutting at its finest. Sadly, I hate it too. Yeah, well, I mean, you could do a digital release of a different cut of the extended cut. I would love that. Like, look, I'm doing a Blu-ray now. You have no idea. Replication costs have increased a lot. A lot.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, demand has a lot to do with that. They're
Yeah.
not producing as much, so the cost is higher.
Exactly. So, yeah, there you go. So, thank you, Nicholas. Sean Condon for $5. The "is Miles really Spider-Man or not" debate would have been a dime a dozen comic book shop argument back in the day. It's only political on Twitter. Well, I think that like Gary Beekler has that thing, Miles Morales is Miles Morales, and he tweets it out like every couple months. All it does is sort of bring people out that get triggered by that. He knows what he's doing. I mean, he's just, and also I love those debates. I used to go to a comic book shop. We would get in fights. I used to go to the Laserdisc store. We would get in fights, but they're like, I always look on those debates as good-hearted. I don't ever take it personal. I respect the other person's opinion, and if you're good at debating, go for it. See if you can change someone's mind.
Yeah, and then never denigrated into name calling.
See, that's the thing where like you lose me. It's like when you're calling someone a name because they have a different opinion than yourself. Wrong, and misguided. I really don't like that. So, but I love those debates. I personally love those debates because what'll happen if you listen to the other person, you're going to go, oh, that person has some points. I still believe that what I'm saying is the true and correct opinion, and you can have resolve in your own opinion, but it doesn't mean that you can't listen to someone else and what they have to say. So, I mean, I will say this, Peter Parker is the original Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And I actually think that what the journey that Miles Morales is going through in this movie is for him to earn the moniker of Spider-Man. That's what it feels like to me thematically. That's what it's leading to. In order to earn actually being known as Spider-Man, because Miles Morales feels in some way that he doesn't necessarily, he hasn't earned it. He's not a man yet. He's a kid. And I like that journey. I liked it. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it. Jazz Dub says being pregnant and in action is woke in this modern films and games now. How are you not seeing that? That's considered woke, just being pregnant and in an action scene? How is that woke? I don't get it.
Yeah, to me, woke just refers to something you've believed for a long time not being true. For example, critical race theory, things like that. But yeah, being pregnant on a bike is, it's weird.
I think we're really stretching the limit of what the definition of what something woke is. Like, wouldn't it be like if she went and got an abortion? Wouldn't that be like, or like, I don't know. I don't see how that's true. Who cares? I think it's kind of, that's something kind of interesting about that. I don't see, how is that woke? Like, yeah. I don't, I'm not like also super hypersensitive to stuff that like I see in movies that could be considered woke. You definitely notice it when it's like overt. But if it's not overt, I just don't care.
Yeah, the way I describe it is if it's meant to teach you a lesson in that moment. I don't know that there's a lesson being taught about a pregnant woman on a bike, but to deliberately race swap or gender swap, to me that's being woke because it's being done for a reason and not for the sake of the story.
Yeah, just like The Little Mermaid.
Yeah,
which ended up being not as woke as we thought. It was just a bad movie. That's just a terrible film.
No, it was woke.
Well, there were aspects of it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's by far, if you were to compare the two, Little Mermaid was woke, and Into the Spider-Verse was not. Beyond the Spider-Verse is not. Across the Spider-Verse.
Across-
Oh my God, I hate these.
Okay,
I
I'm
hate
tired
the
of
way
this.
they label these things.
No, you're first of all, yes, that is a complaint of mine. Like, there's No Way Home, Homecoming, Home this, like, okay, the Home trilogy, and this is the Into, Across, Beyond, like, what?
On. Over.
On. Oh, yeah, like, lame. But I don't know that a pregnant woman on a motorcycle is, I don't see how that is.
Yeah. Well,
I just think it's just a different version. So
yeah, I mean, if it were woke, they need to find a way to shame non-pregnant men. I don't know, to use that as a way to shame a certain class of people, mostly white men.
Yeah, I didn't feel lectured in this film. Although there was one moment where like Peter Parker was like, okay, I'll just stand by and listen. And that line just made me kind of go, ugh, lame. But yeah, I don't, being pregnant and in action is woke in this modern film. You're gonna have to show me how that's lecturing anything. I mean, look, a lot of media is not encouraging people to get pregnant or have families. So I am in favor of more pregnant women in movies and cartoons.
Okay. Oh, here's his response.
Wait. Jazzed up. Are you serious, Chris? It's the feminist push showing women being heavily pregnant with the child being in scenarios of danger. Would you have your wife being pregnant on a motorcycle? One, this is a made up story. No, I would never have my pregnant wife be on a motorcycle. But this is a cartoon, so I don't take it as seriously as that. So I didn't know that there was a feminist push to have pregnant women on motorcycles. I'm sorry. I think you're taking it very seriously, and I am not taking it seriously because it's a cartoon character who I thought was actually kind of a badass, fun character. So you're going to have to is there a feminist push about people in the chat other than Jazz Dub? Can you interpret what this person's trying to say?
Yeah, my only issue with the pregnant female or pregnant Spider-Woman is they did not do a damn thing with her being pregnant other than call out the fact that
exactly she's just pregnant, and so what?
Yeah,
and then
she basically did everything a pregnant woman wouldn't do. If anything, I think it insults pregnant women by showing that, look, this woman can get around on a motorcycle, fight like Spider-Man, and what are you doing? You're just wobbling around pregnant. That's me. I just can't by myself.
I thought it was just a cool, interesting thing. It's sort of like when you see a character in science fiction that has an eye patch and one cyborg arm. That's been used a lot. I don't know. It's just different. It doesn't I didn't think about it too deeply. Avatar, pregnant woman riding fish, same as motorcycle, says John Long last name. Maybe.
But again, they didn't do anything with that. They
didn't really do anything with it. I don't know. Is there a secret agenda to get pregnant women to be badasses?
Yeah. Let's see. It's a feminist trope to push pregnant women to be on screen and action. Oh, okay, yeah, you're just kind of agreeing with us. First of all, I mean, if you're a feminist,
is there really an agenda to all right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get pregnant women. We're gonna put them in action scenes. Why? I have no idea. It doesn't make any logical sense. That's why.
In fact, let's make this a new sport.
Right. Yeah. All right. We're gonna get through these comments because we gotta talk about the Boogeyman. I don't know how we devolved into this.
Yeah, we gotta talk about Boogeyman soon. So
yeah. Well, okay. We're gonna talk in 5 minutes. But thank you. Look, it's interesting. And also, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I don't see it. And I'm not thinking about it as deeply as you're thinking about it. And I would think if that's an agenda, that is a stupid agenda. If that actually exists, just because it's shown up a couple times in movies. I don't know. There are cliches and tropes and whatever. I guarantee having been with a woman who was pregnant twice with my kids. Yeah, she wasn't looking to, but I will say this, she was very active up until to giving birth.
Yeah. Well, maybe she'll give birth in the sequel.
Yeah, maybe she will. Maybe they'll pay that off.
Or maybe that's her superpower. She'll just be pregnant all the time.
There you go. Rumble. Adele is 24. Nothing woke about a kick-ass mother figure as long as she is still feminine and motherly. She was very much a woman. So there you go. Jimmy Touchdown for 5. Spider-Verse equals more woke garbage. Pregnant Spider-Woman, lol, BLM everywhere. Might as well have Miles drinking Bud Light and shopping at Target. Did you see the movie? I would encourage you to see the film. Jimmy Touchdown, Morales' family as a poor family to get into Princeton is mainstreaming the corruption in higher education. If people knew how universities are spending tax dollars in grad programs, riots everywhere. Yeah, I wouldn't, I don't know that I would encourage anyone to go to college today. I think they're just indoctrination factories. So if they're trying to put,
I could find a better way to spend $100,000.
Yes, like you could start a business. I'm a college dropout. I dropped out of college. I bought a bunch of books. I self-educated and I learned how to publish a magazine. And I did that in the 80s and 90s. I built Film Threat as a print magazine, different thing. So yeah, Jimmy Touchdown, but thank you. I mean, we kind of have these glasses we put on and we kind of see certain things, and there's just some things I don't see or they just don't bother me because I don't allow that to impact like my personal, what I'm thinking about stuff. Call sign Alucard for 499. The idea is a woman can do anything a man can at all times, even while pregnant. Not saying I agree, but I've heard the argument before. Well, I mean, I'll just say having been through the reality, it's wrong. And any woman is no way going to get on a motorcycle or do anything dangerous, or if they're responsible, smoke a cigarette or drink a beer while pregnant. No responsible woman who is pregnant will do anything to endanger the baby. The fact that it's in a couple fictional stories is interesting, but I don't think there's an agenda to get women to do that because I think it would be stupid. Wayo for 569. A German show, The Island. Main character is pregnant. She had to do some stunts and got funny looks. She said, "I'm pregnant, not disabled." Guy went, "Oh." Yeah, but this is the thing of like, this is just like when you see women are much stronger in movies than in real life, when we all know that that's not true. Like, it's like, all right, that is a moment that I'll say is fuck around and find out. Go ahead. When you're pregnant, try to do stuff like that. Fuck around and find out. I was at the birth of 2 of my children. I promise you, nothing was happening to endanger those kids. And it's, yeah, it is. I just think it's stupid. And I don't mind. Look, do you know how many other stupid ideas exist in the world? What's great is, and what I appreciate about the Film Threat audience is, we're too smart for that. So my advice to you is, if you are pregnant, do not smoke or drink and don't ride a motorcycle, because only stupid people do that. So there you go. Thank you, Wayo. And Jimmy Touchdown says, also I saw Spider-Verse, still woke garbage for 2. Sure. That's my opinion is that I really enjoyed it. And Jimmy Touchdown for 5 says, grad schools are funding foreign students with full scholarships and stipends to the exclusion of U.S. students, worse than any indoctrination. I wouldn't recommend that anyone go to college now. It's just a gateway to a job where a corporation will decide your value.
Yeah. Believe me, this is a discussion I have almost every month with my child. Because we're just
is she going to go to college or not? Or, it's better? A trade school. Go to a trade school.
What I told her was, look, when you have an idea of what you want to do in life, we'll plan from there. But college is not an automatic.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why we're talking about this. We're talking about Spider-Man. So I get it. But thank you, Jimmy Touchdown. Elliot Cecil for $1.99. Where would you put this with the other films? Well, God, I'll say this. I'm not going to do like a full ranking, but it's not better than Spider-Man 2, and it's not better than No Way Home. And it's not better than Spider-Man 1, at least not for me. But I was surprised how much I enjoyed it.
Well, here's the ranking that's important. Sony films versus current Marvel films.
Yes. John Manoling says, God damn, I'm all for calling out woke shit, but there has to be a line where you can actually, enjoy a movie. Yeah, if you're distracted by like a poster, which I didn't even see, like you're actually looking for something to be upset about, which to me reminds me of a lot of people on the opposite side of the equation that like they scrolling through Twitter to look for something to be upset about. Yeah. And I don't let it, unless if I feel like I'm being lectured to, or like, here's the dumb lesson that you have to learn, that, but if it's something in the background, that's also the world. Like,
well, let's be real. They put it back there for a reason, and it wasn't just to put it back there as decoration. And the other problem is, it's not going to be a timely message 10 years from now. Or maybe it will be, but I seriously doubt that will be what divides America 10 years from now.
Thank you, John, for that comment. I appreciate you. Pathkeeper for 10. I did like that Miles' parents rejected the label of poor, struggling immigrant family. Yes. And that's also, that is a Peter Parker thing, right? He came from a poor, he was poor as well. He had to struggle. He had to work a job and go to college. Like, I like that struggle. It builds character. I did like that Miles' parents rejected the label of poor, struggling immigrant family. The theme of family was the best part of the film. Agree with you. I liked how the film portrayed the three fathers in the film. Yes, strong fathers.
Yes, Miles had three fathers in the film.
Yes, and the nerd far away says, that's why I love this channel. Chris and Alan treat us intelligently. Yeah, and I like hearing arguments from all sides of the equation. God, if I go through these chats, we got to get to the review of Boogeyman. Let me get to it. Mike,
Rumble Rants. I just want to make.
I got him.
Okay.
Chris, you can have my poster. Thank you, Mike. Harbinger of Chaos. He's not Spider-Man. Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Okay. Jericho Leon. Spider-Man's core message is use your struggles to step up instead of letting it defeat and bury you. Bingo, Jericho Leon.
There's an entire generation that needs to hear that right now.
That is a message we need now more than ever. Thank you. Rumble Rant for 2. Dread Seamus. Yo, need some subscriber emotes over here. Banana Dance. All right, we will get to that. Jimmy Touchdown for 2. Handsome Truth saw Spider-Verse. His head exploded. I don't know who Handsome Truth is. I'm so sorry. Sorry, Jimmy Touchdown, but thank you for being so active in our chat today. MM for 10. The problem with misdiagnosing woke is that it dilutes the word's impact. Woke media is about preaching. It's the leftist equivalent to 90s Christian media for Christians. That's also why it sucks. Yeah. Yes, it's also why I'm not particularly a fan of woke stuff, is because, I really dislike like the 90s, the 90s religious right was all about censorship and shutting things down. And now it's this sort of left woke that wants to censor and shut things down. And, Matt Walsh's movie, What is a Woman, which we're one of the only outlets that reviewed it. The only, if you go to Rotten Tomatoes, is Dante James' review is there. I don't like people that want to censor. I don't like people that want to shut things down. And you're right, MM. Thank you for that comment. I don't like censorship. All ideas should be able to be discussed. The best ideas bubble to the surface. Bad ideas go away. And there's a lot of bad ideas we're hearing today. I'm sorry.
What is a Woman is available on Twitter right now for 24 hours.
Only until 8 p.m. tonight. CD Stein, 69. Don't mean to correct you, Alan, but I would say Marvel used to be about those things. Not anymore, i.e. see Captain Marvel. Yeah. Mike MC Wong, Angry Black Girl and Her Monster was also shown only on Wednesday. It kind of sucked. Race and gender swap Frankenstein set in a ghetto. Yeah, I wanted to see that. Do we have a review on the website?
Sabina's writing that this weekend, but it is coming to theaters, I believe, in 2 weeks.
So
the publicist is really on me right now to get a review out.
It's basically a Frankenstein, a modern day Frankenstein story. And it could be, I like the concept, but I haven't seen it. Thank you, Mike. Always love to see you at our meetups. Rumble Rant for one. Faux peasy. If you really want the devil's advocate argument, could be that being pregnant is a state of vulnerability. And this is, I don't need no man while in the state so much. I hear that argument. It's like, I just thought it was interesting character. You've got all these different, I mean, there are weirder Spider-Men that we could have talked about.
Yeah, and then he has a second, Fupisi has a second follow-up.
So much that I'm actually a hero. Okay.
And then there's another one. There's
another one. I got it. Faux peasy. Rumble Rant. For one, Faux peasy 202, in an attempt to change or influence how people view pregnant women. Well, that's fine. That's fine. Our special guest is joining us momentarily. We're going to reset for that. We're so excited to have him here today to talk about the Boogeyman. We got to get this set here. We got to get this set. Just a moment. We're going to pivot. Rob is being very patient in our digital green room right now. So here we go. A quick pivot to talk to him. The Boogeyman is here. It's in theaters this weekend. It's a horror film that you need to see, playing on primal fears in the deep recesses of our minds and from our childhood. Who hasn't had a fear of the dark? How many of us when we were kids slept with the light on? I can tell you I know the exact last time I slept with the light on. I was 16 years old and I saw the movie John Carpenter's The Thing. And I was so afraid. I was 16 and I slept with the light on. Okay. There are episodes of The Twilight Zone that haunted me. And this film from director Rob Savage is something that you must see in a theater. The sound design, the performances, and the story by Stephen King absolutely knocks it out of the park. See it in a theater. I recommend a Dolby theater. That sound is amazing. And Rob Savage is here on the show with us today. Rob, dude, congratulations on the movie. Love the film. Love it.
Yeah.
And I have to
say the trailer is so good. I don't know that I can see this movie.
It's a good trailer.
It's a great trailer. And also you directed a film that it was one of my favorites during the pandemic, Host.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Before you talk about Boogeyman, tell me about Host, like how that was made. It's a movie that it feels like it takes place in real time during a Zoom call.
Mm-hmm.
And spirits are conjured and bad things happen. Can you tell me a little bit about Host before we talk about Boogeyman? Because I just loved Host.
Oh, thank you. No, Host basically was the thing that kept me sane during the lockdown. It was basically shot like this. We couldn't leave our houses, and I was hanging out every night with a bunch of friends, actors, basically everyone you need to make a movie was on these Zoom calls, and we were just, we were doing quizzes and getting drunk together, and it was like we can probably do something more useful with our time. So we got together and we came up with this idea of a horror movie all set on Zoom about a group of friends who were bored with playing quizzes and getting drunk, and so decided to do a seance over Zoom, and it goes about as well as you'd expect. But I directed the whole thing like this, every single effect, every single scare, the actors had to do themselves with bits of fishing wire, and it came together, and it was the thing that led to me getting the job on the Boogeyman.
Dude, that movie, I watched Host. I don't know if I bought it or it was just like it was on Shudder, or it might have been on. I think it's on Shudder. Is it still on Shudder?
Yeah. No, Shudder gave us a little bit of money to go make it.
I watched that movie in pitch black, like all the lights off, and there are just moments where you're just like, the jump scares in that film are so well timed and such a great buildup that I just want to thank you for making that film.
Oh no, thank you. Well, it was great. We had a captive audience. Everyone was locked down, sitting in these endless Zoom meetings. It felt like someone was going to do it.
Yeah, but great job on that. Now the Boogeyman. So you said that doing Host helped you get the job to direct the Boogeyman. Can you tell us like how that came about?
Well, after Host blew up in a big way, and suddenly I was getting offered all the scripts in the world. I was getting sent every single horror script in Hollywood, and most of them are pretty bad. And then I got sent the one for Boogeyman. and I'd read the short story by Stephen King. I remembered it. I thought, you know, the title was great. There's been a lot of Boogeyman movies, but to be able to do one that has Stephen King's backing, that's almost like the definitive version of the Boogeyman, that felt like a kind of worthy challenge to take on. And I came on board. There was a script by Becken Woods, who wrote Quiet Place, so it had a really great pedigree. And you know, the movie that ended up on screen is very different from Becken Woods' script. I developed it for about a year before we shot, but it just seemed like an ingenious way to adapt Stephen King's short story, which is basically just two people in a room talking. It's a therapy session where something sinister slowly kind of emerges, and they'd come up with a great way to build that out into a feature film.
Well, I'll just say this, having experienced it, and I saw the screening at the American Cinematheque where there was a great Q&A after.
Oh, yeah.
Hosted by Jonah Ray. That was so great. David Desmalchin was there. I've never been more afraid of nothing. And by that, I mean, it's just dark and you're not, nothing is there. And the sound design totally sells it. Can you talk about like just the sound design and like how you crafted when to use those moments?
Well, I mean, I think you set it up wonderfully at the beginning. This movie is about trying to evoke those childhood fears. It's about like trying to send the audience back to that feeling of being a terrified kid awake in the dark, you know, imagining there's something there lurking under your bed or in your closet. And part of how we did that was by not showing the monster, by letting the audience equate the monster with darkness. So every time there's darkness in the frame, you know, where you've got kind of these dark backgrounds behind the characters, you as the audience are leaning forward, staring into the dark, imagining that maybe there's something there, maybe something's going to emerge out of it. And so much of that is about the sound design, finding a kind of unique voice for this creature, and also just kind of building a soundscape that again feels like everything is dangerous. You've got the kind of sound of the house waning and the sound of the trees outside. There's so much little detail that's built in that makes you on edge the whole movie. You know, we wanted people to not be able to relax through this film.
And I want to also mention, you had a great thing at the Q&A where you talked about, and I don't think this is spoiler stuff, but you were talking about the number of seconds that you see like in Jaws, or like, can you talk about that? Like you used the creature so sparingly, and I love what you had to say at the Q&A. Like,
well, you know, the two examples that we were always going back to, it was Jaws and Alien, which it feels like the perfect amount to see those monsters, and they're always celebrated for not showing very much of the creature and being, you know, two of the most terrifying films of all time. So when we were in the edit, we had written on the whiteboard outside, we had the amount of frames that the shark is in Jaws and the amount of frames that the alien is in Alien. And every week I would get the edit assistant team to measure how many frames of our monster were in the movie, and we'd measure it against those two films. And ultimately we ended up with a second less than the shark in Jaws and a second and a half less than the alien in Alien. So we really are very sparing in the way we show the creature. And I do think the more you leave to the audience's imagination, the more that they fill in themselves, the more terrifying it is.
And we have a ton of questions for you from our chat. We've got about 500 people watching live here on YouTube. So, but one,
actually, can I ask a quick question?
Oh, sure,
So, I mean, Stephen King has been adapted for decades, and now you're a part of that pantheon. I mean, what is it like approaching a Stephen King project? Did you interact with him at all? And, you know, what is your reflection upon, you know, just his work being adapted over time and what you brought to this particular production?
Yeah, I mean, there's been, so many classic adaptations of King's work, and we wanted this to stand with the best of them. But at the same time, we tried not to think about some of the great filmmakers that have tackled his work before, because it's quite intimidating. We would really, me and Mark Heyman, who wrote the movie, we would always go back to his writing. We'd go back to the, our favorite of his books, and go back to the short story. Because the short story is like 8 pages, and then we build it out to a 93-minute feature. We wanted to make sure that as we were building out on it, we didn't lose the personality of King. It felt like something that was building on those themes that he was discussing in the short story. And the most anxious I was when we sent him the script. This was just before we were about to start shooting, because he's very vocal when he doesn't like something, when he thinks that his work has been misrepresented. He fucking tells you, you know, he's like, he's very open about that. So we sent him the script and he was really enthusiastic about it. He gave us some great thoughts, and he would constantly be shouting out in interviews about how this script was a great example of how to build on his short stories, on how to you know, earn a 90-minute movie out of such a short piece of material. And then finally he saw the movie and loved the movie as well, and has been so like supportive, which is amazing. It's like that's really the only response that we cared about. And he's been a real champion of the movie.
And before we get to the questions and comments, we have a lot of them for you. I don't know how long you can stick around, but
Stick around.
oh, well, thank you. I have to compliment you. Your young cast, you got such good performances.
Yeah.
In particular, the actress, she was in the Kenobi series.
Vivian Lyra Blair. She's phenomenal.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
She is so good in this film.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was it like to get that performance out of her? Such a believable, her fearfulness, and like I just identify with being that age and being afraid of like, was that the furnace or something else? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I knew that she was going to be the heart of the movie, that people were going to love her. And as soon as I auditioned her, it was apparent that she's like kind of just a one of a kind human being. She's got such a kind of infectious personality. And so much of that is in the movie. There's a lot of humor around the character, and so much of that came from her directly. Like we would sometimes like improvise around the script, and she'd throw in jokes and ideas. And at first, you know, she was 9 years old when we shot this. She's been working for a long time. She was in Bird Box, and she was in, like you say, Kenobi. But I was speaking to her like a kid. You know, I was trying to like. Sometimes when you work with child actors, you have to almost kind of coax or trick a performance out of them, and I was trying to do that the first couple of days. And after a few days of working with her, it was apparent that she's just as capable, if not more so, than any of the other actors who I've worked with. And she had this incredibly like this incredible process that felt healthy, but she was able to like kind of basically close her eyes and take 30 seconds, do some breathing, and suddenly tears would start streaming down her face. Her breathing would become panic breathing, and she'd be able to get herself to that place, do one of these takes phenomenally well. I'd be able to direct her with such precision, and she'd take the notes so well. And then as soon as we called cut, she'd be a 9-year-old again, and she'd be playing, and she'd completely switch it off. It really was incredible to behold.
I mean, just seeing the experience of the film through her character. Oh my God. It's amazing.
She seems like a Stephen King novel in the making.
Yeah. Let's go to the comments here. John Long last name says, "Oh, look, nice posters, sir." Lord Thought says, "Nice to see you, Rob." And
my favorite movie of all time.
Oh, well, that's what people are saying. Like, yeah, Evil Dead 2 is just such a classic. Hannibal Grimm says, "Dude, Rob, thank you for the Boogeyman. You're magnificent, mofo. You and the crew did everything right. Also, well done with the deviousness with the sound mix." So there you go.
Well, thank you so much.
Imperfect says, "Why is Evil Dead 2 Rob's favorite horror film ever?" That was before you'd said that.
Evil Dead 2 is it's 83 minutes long. It's one of the shortest, most compact movies you'll ever see. And every single scene in this movie, it's one of those movies where you're watching it and every single scene you're like, this is my favorite scene. This is the best scene. No, wait, this is the best scene. It's made of nothing but brilliant, iconic, hilarious, terrifying moments. And it was the movie that first taught me how to direct, or what directing was. Like Sam Raimi directs the absolute hell out of this movie. And I remember watching it and realizing, oh, there's a vision behind this. There's a person who's decided to put the camera here to tell the actors where to pitch their performance. And it's a movie I watch like 2-3 times a year, and I never get sick of it. And I've been working with Sam Raimi. We've been cooking up a project together, and he actually he gave me this for my birthday. He signed.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
It's everything you'd expect working with him. He's such a creative force.
Oh my God. And the other thing I have to say about the film, what I love, it's not 2 hours and 20 minutes. It's
No,
exactly as long as it should be.
you'll
We've had
never
this.
you'll never catch me making a 2 hour and 20-minute movie. Am I like?
Oh my God. We've had this long running discussion at Film Threat about like a movie has to earn, if it's north of 2 hours, you got to earn it. It's got to
Yeah,
be an epic. It's Lord of the Rings or something else. But all
completely.
these movies these days, from Little Mermaid to Spider-Verse to all of them, they're 2 hours and 20 minutes. It doesn't feel like the right running time. Your
No,
movie, exactly dead on. Was it like, it's like an hour 40 or something? An
it's less.
hour
It's 90. It's like 98 minutes, and that's with credits.
98.
So you can leave after 93.
Yeah.
You know,
It's oh my God. It's just perfect.
I
So
think someone said this, and I'm stealing it, but every minute after 90, you have to earn twice as hard. That's the rule.
yes. Hannibal Grimm goes on to say, Boogeyman is up there with The Mist on my list of favorites. Well done, dude.
Oh man, that's
So,
high praise. The Mist is one of my favorite King adaptations.
and then so many questions here. Which movie influenced you the most in the horror genre? Asks Andrew S.
There's a movie, and I talk about this movie a lot, but it's really underloved. It's my favorite horror movie of all time, and it was a big influence on this, big influence on Host. It's a movie called The Innocents from 1961, I think, which is a black and white haunted house movie. And you watch it, and it's Gothic manner. It's shot in the 60s. It's black and white. You think, oh, it's going to feel kind of antiquated and old fashioned. It's one of the scariest movies of all time. It's so modern in the way that it's put together, and it uses darkness and empty space, negative space, in the way that you were talking about. It really makes you paranoid and makes you search the frame and imagine where the scare is coming from next. And it's a movie I watch every time. Every time I'm about to make a horror movie, I watch it because it's a masterclass.
And from Rumble, a question from LaScribe: is Boogeyman Dolby Atmos and Dolby Vision?
It is indeed, and that is the best way to watch it. We played it that way for the premiere, and I've never seen it looking and sounding better.
Oh my God. Rob, any spooky events from your own childhood that you pulled from? Says the Introspect M.
Well, I was a kid who was terrified of the dark. I was a kid who was freaking myself out with scary movies and Stephen King stories and all of that good stuff. So there's not one specific childhood event that I can think of, but anytime I would wake up in the middle of the night, I would turn my bedside lamp on, and I'd keep vigil until morning, and just imagining that if I fell asleep, something would grab me out of my bed. But I have had on Host, we had a bunch of supernatural stuff happening because we were doing a seance every day on screen. We were kind of incanting these spirits every day. And one of the things that happened when we were prepping that movie, we were doing a test seance. I got a real medium to come on Zoom, and me and the cast and crew did this just to see what it was like, so I could see who of the cast were like freaked out and what their roles would be. And the medium got us to go around and call out one by one, spirit, if you're here, we make this a place of welcoming, please give me a sign. And everyone did that one by one by one. It got to my turn. I said that. The moment I said that, the big heavy cupboard doors behind me slammed shut like that, like somebody had forcefully done them angrily. And we got it. I mean, it's all on. We were recording the Zoom call. It was like, so yeah, there are occasionally little moments like that I can't even begin to explain.
Patrick Lemire says casting David Dastmalchian is always a great move. What was it like working with him?
He's the best, and he had everyone had hard roles to pull off, and they're dealing with these characters that are really in the pit of grief. David possibly had the hardest role because he's a character directly lifted from Stephen King. He's the one playing the iconic Stephen King character Lester Billings from the short story, and he was the first person I had in mind for this role, and I'm so glad that he did it. That his character has to go to a very, very dark place, and he took it seriously. And there was a lot of overlap with, the darker things that have happened in his life. And I know that he was hesitant about doing the movie at first, but he gave such an incredible, committed, soulful performance. And And I said, like, there was an Entertainment Weekly piece about him recently that they asked me for a quote, and I said, I want David to be in every single movie I make from now on. I think he's incredible.
David's like a good luck charm. He's in so many iconic films. I mean, I've known him years ago when he was doing like indie movies after The Dark Knight, and wow, just seeing him blow up is just fantastic.
This year, June, Oppenheimer, The Voyage of the Demeter. He's like Late Night with the Devil. He's having such a great run at the moment.
Good for him. Bush and Rio Cat says, dude, why are you making movies while being so young?
I started, it's because I don't know how to do anything else. I actually made my first feature film, my first 90-minute feature film when I was 17 years old, because I grew up in the middle of nowhere in the countryside in the UK, and I always loved movies, always wanted to make movies, but I was so ignorant about how movies were made. I didn't know that the way that you normally do it is you make short films, and then you make more short films, and slowly you build up, maybe do some television. Then after a few years, you make your first feature film. I didn't know any of that. I'd never seen a short film. I didn't know people made short films. All I knew is that when I go to the cinema, I go to see 90-minute, proper full movies. And so I had $3,000 that I'd raised from doing a paper round as a kid, and a very long summer before college. And I was just like, I may as well do so, otherwise I'm just going to spend my summer getting drunk. I may as well make a movie. And so me and my friends got together, we made this movie, and it ended up, it got on the BAFTA shortlist. It won a British Independent Film Award, which is a big award over there, and it ended up getting me an agent. And then so age 18, I was able to start working professionally. So I've been doing this for about 13 years now.
Congratulations!
Wow.
That's amazing. Nicholas Vargas says, I saw the movie last week at a critic screening. My best friend is a film critic in Phoenix, and I loved it. I really want to compliment the sound design. It's so effective and scares you senseless. Solomon Thornton has a question, says, how do you film a PG-13 horror, and are there restrictions? Love the trailer, man. Well, Solomon, you got to see the movie.
Thank you. Well, it's insane that this movie got a PG-13. It was designed originally as an R-rated movie, and then a couple of weeks before, like, the executive decision was made, no, this has to be a PG-13 movie, which makes sense. It's the Boogeyman. You want this to be a gateway horror for kids who are just growing out of the idea that there's something living in their closet, and then this movie's hopefully going to terrify them all over again. But we had this R-rated script, and we had to make it into a PG-13. And the only thing that we cut, and this is completely true. The only thing we had to cut was 3 F words from the script. Everything else, the violence, which I thought was always going to be an R, the scare scenes, none of that changed. There's a couple of scenes where we go pretty hard, including the very first scene, which I never thought the MPAA would let us put in a PG-13. There are moments in this movie that go really hard. I think this is about as hard as a PG-13 can go.
I would agree. I think it is definitely a hard PG-13 if that exists. But yeah.
So did you cut the F words, or did you have to reshoot those lines?
We cut them before we started shooting. But it was literally, we're going through the script, and I just like dug in my heels, and I was like, I'm not gonna cut down any of the violence. I'm not gonna cut down anything. They can say frick instead of the F word.
Yeah. Solomon Thornton says, love the Beyond shirt. And then
thank you.
Lubitsch Touchman says,
another one of my favorites.
Well, there you go. Someone asked, is The Beyond your favorite Fulci movie? It's mine, but I know that many people rank Zombie or City of the Living Dead.
I love Zombie and City of the Living Dead. I love a lot of Fulci. I think as he got on, and he kind of became less and less interested in plot and more interested in kind of dream logic and these kind of nightmarish set pieces that were just smushed together. I mean, The Beyond is just like a series of incredible set pieces strung together by the flimsiest of plots. And I kind of love his complete like disregard for convention. And I think the weirder he got, the better he got. And The Beyond is just like, it's like an art movie. It's an art movie with gouged eyeballs and killer spiders.
MM asks, can you talk about the sound design? One of my favorite movies of the last decade was The Witch. And much of what made that movie amazing was the use of sound and music. Like the sound design in your film is, like I say, I haven't been more terrified of nothing in so long.
Well, I got to shout out Craig Mann, who was our mixer. He won the Oscar for Whiplash. He's an incredible sound mixer and just knew exactly what to do with this movie. And Trevor Gates, who did a lot of the sound design. There's without spoiling it, there's an element of the creature's how the creature vocalizes that's particularly kind of disturbing and calls on it's got a kind of mimicking quality. And we spent a lot of time, me and Trevor, in this little sound booth, like making weird noises and into the microphone. Like a lot of the creature sounds is like me and the sound designer and the cast and our voices kind of like warped and melded together into this disturbing design.
Let's see. Ivan Kulki says, just got out from the movie. Holy shit. This is a fantastic movie.
Thanks so much. Well, keep spreading the word on it, because if this movie does well, we've got the most exciting idea for a sequel to this film. It's got to make enough money to justify it, but there's me and Mark who wrote this movie have this pitch that the studio are really excited about. That's like, it's kind of like nothing you've seen in horror for a long time. It's and especially to do it in this world with this creature and this mythology, and again, it's kind of pulling from a lot of King influence. But I'm so excited about it. I'd love it to be my next movie. So if you love this movie, please shout out about it, spread the word. It really means the world to us if people
see it a few more times.
See it a few times. Buy out the cinema.
Rob, will there be a DVD release with extra material?
You know, I don't know. There's some extra material that's going to be on the VOD release. There's a really great behind the scenes and a documentary about the making of the movie, which really kind of which is really good and really well made and gets into the process of how we put this film together. I would love this to have a physical release. The physical release of Host is like one of my prized possessions. It's a shame that we're kind of moving away from physical media.
Yeah.
But I hope and I hope one day we'll get a kind of a definitive version. And if we do, it's going to be packed with special features. I'm going to make sure it's the best disc you can possibly buy.
I'm a huge fan of special feature, DVDs. So like, I just hope you do it. Especially, I know horror fans like that because they like to collect things. I can't tell you how many times I bought different versions of Evil Dead 2, but someone says the Boogeyman 2 Electric Boogaloo. I'm gonna probably say
cracked it.
Boogaloo. There you go. Question from Fletcher Williams: what did you shoot the movie on? Software used for editing? How did you pick the color palette?
So we shot it on Arri Alexa with it was Alexa large format, which gives a slightly different look. I wish I was more technically proficient talking about this, but it was digital with anamorphic lenses, which is what gives it that kind of lovely filmic look. And then what we did, which gives it this kind of like timeless classic look, is we shot it on digital, which is very sharp and very modern. And then we put the whole movie onto 35mm film, which is what they would have projected on. And then we redigitized it. So what you see in the cinema, even though it's digital projection, it's actually 35mm film. So everything you're seeing is chemical. It's a real chemical process fizzing in front of your eyes. So it's got that kind of sense of like, it's alive. It's got a lovely kind of graininess to it. It's got a lovely texture. And then we edited the movie on Avid. Pete Voistus, I'm butchering his second name, was our editor who edited Conjuring 3 and a lot of great other horror movies. And I was there in the edit every day, sitting over his shoulder, kind of picking up how to edit on Avid, which is I came up on Final Cut. That was my program.
That is such a brilliant. I've never heard of anyone doing that, transferring it to 35, then the 35 goes to digital, that is no wonder it had this kind of otherworldly classic horror movie feel. It just felt like a classic horror film. Yeah.
Well, that was it. I wanted this. This isn't a movie that's trying to reinvent the wheel. This is the Boogeyman. It wanted to feel classic and timeless, and as though you could have plucked it from 10, 20 years ago. It's not a film where people are, TikToking and YouTubing, and it's not something that's like Host, that's a very modern, very 2020 movie. This wanted to feel like it could exist outside of time.
So have you thought about putting it back on 35mm?
We've got, that's one of the things is in that process we've got this 35 mil copy of the movie, so we can show it on film. You know, I'm dying to get it shown at the New Beverly Cinema, to Tarantino Cinema, which only shows on 35 or only shows on film. I'm really keen to get it playing there, because I'd love to see this like actually going through a film projector.
Oh man. Wayo asks for Rob, any creepy pasta story you'd like to make a movie? I don't know, it's creepy pasta. What's that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I trawl through those quite a lot. There's not one that's immediately coming to mind, but I remember there was one creepypasta thread that was all about like or maybe it doesn't count as creepypasta, but it's like a Reddit thread about like creepy true things that police officers have seen on night calls. And I've got a little notebook full of things that I read on that Reddit thread. It's just like some of the most chilling stuff you'll ever read.
Cool. The Nerd Far Away asks, hello, Rob. For some people, scary stories are an adrenaline rush. For others, they're about the value of life. What do you think is the reason scary stories are told?
I think it's a way of speaking to, it's a way of speaking to all the things that we don't really like to talk about in regular life, in polite conversation. There's a kind of, there are these taboo subjects that we all think about that none of us really like to put words to, that grief and loss and death being one of them, and this movie is really about talking through these periods of darkness and leaning on other people rather than kind of internalizing and repressing these dark feelings. That's kind of what the creature almost represents. It's everything that you think about, that consumes you, but you don't speak to. And when you don't speak to it, it kind of festers and becomes this monstrous thing. And I think horror movies are great vessels for talking about these dark taboo subjects in a kind of safe, fun, scary, fantastical way. And I think that's why there's such a kind of universal appeal.
I just, the thing that we were talking outside the theater after that screening, and what this film reminded me of, the same kind of impact of last year's Barbarian, which I thought Barbarian was so good, so fresh. And your film kind of had that same vibe for me of like, oh, this is the horror film you have to go out and see. Last year for me, it was like The Black Phone and Barbarian and Boogeyman. You add it to your list. I'm telling everyone watching to check it out. A couple more quick comment here. Great interview. I'm checking out The Boogeyman, says Mike Good. And Antoine Haynes says, do you desire to do any, I think he means any movie any movie outside of the horror genre?
Not really. And you know why? I think when you're making a horror movie, you can make any kind of movie within the kind of broad church of horror. Like I've always wanted to make a movie that really sincerely deals with grief and loss in the way that this movie does in some of those scenes. But this is a big, broadly commercial horror movie that you can go see on a Friday night. Just happens to deal with these dark themes. Nobody would go and see the movie that's just about a family trying to move through grief. But as soon as you add a monster jumping out of the shadows, it has this broader appeal. And I kind of feel like with all the best horror movies, there's almost like a contract you sign with the audience. Like, I'm going to scare you and you're going to have a terrifying ride, but I'm also going to make the movie I want to make within this. And I love doing both. I love scaring the shit out of audiences, but I also love telling these darker stories that you don't get to tell in any other genre.
And last question before we let you go. The movie's in theaters. Are you going to go and see it in a theater just to see the audience reaction? Are you doing any Q&As at some screenings?
I'm going to be doing Q&As and intros, and as much as I can, I'm going to try and get people out to the cinema to see this movie. In fact, as soon as we sign off now, I'm going to go and drive around LA and pop into a bunch of different theaters and just see how people are reacting, and maybe do a couple of intros. So if anyone's around in LA, I might see you later.
That's great. Rob Savage, thank you so much for being here. The Boogeyman is in theaters now. In theaters. Go see it. It's not on streaming or VOD. Although, if you do have Shudder and you have not seen Host, do yourself a favor and watch Host. It is a fantastic film. Rob, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thanks so much. That was fun.
Thank you.
Congratulations, and please come back, talk to us on your next film.
Definitely will.
All right, take
Cheers.
care.
Take care.
Later. Bye-bye. What a great guy. Oh, my God.
What a great interview. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, another great one. Well, that is going to wrap it up for us today. A quick comment here we missed here.
So quickly, what did you think of the Boogeyman?
Oh, yeah, Kimberly Moore became a YouTube member. I loved it. It reminded me of Barbarian. It reminded me of primal fears that we have. It reminded me of being a kid and I was legit afraid of the dark. If I watched a horror film or an episode of The Twilight Zone before I went to bed, I would sleep with the light on. And this movie plays on those fears. Loved it. Highly recommend The Boogeyman. I'll do a proper review next week where I can get into it. We're talking Transformers. And a couple of things, couple of notes. I will be at Monsterpalooza this weekend in Pasadena. So if you're going to be at Monsterpalooza in Pasadena, I'll be there for all 3 days. I've got a 3-day badge. Say hi. Look for me. I'm the guy with the hair. The other thing is next week, I'm going to Dallas Fan Expo. I'll be doing Critics Court. So we have Critics Court on Wednesday. I'm seeing the Transformers movie Wednesday night. Then I'm taking a red eye to go to Dallas. I'm going to Dallas Fan Expo. I will be doing the show, our regular 9 a.m. Film Threat Livecast. I'll be doing from Dallas at the. I'll be staying at an Airbnb in Dallas. I'm doing a panel at 1 p.m. at Dallas Fan Expo, along with Gary Beekler and I believe Ryan Cannell and some other nerd pundits in Dallas. So I'll be in Dallas next week. So there you go. That's some pieces of business. Alan, what else do you have coming up?
Let's see. If I can make it work out, I'll be at Cinegear Expo today or tomorrow. I also have a show tomorrow night in San Diego at 7:30, and I will be seeing The Blackening next week. So that'll be.
Oh, well, you got to review it on our Friday show.
Yeah. Well, if the embargo's lifted, I will do that.
Well, we have to talk about this because I did not get invited to that.
Yeah, well, I don't know. They're starting to do screenings in Orange County now, which makes me more than happy.
Oh, that's great. I'll be your +1. And that wraps it up for us today, folks. Thank you so much. Hey, thank you to the mods, Lord Thoth, Mexican Iron Man, Chicago Box, Latino Slant. We thank you. And Ms. P. Coffee, thank you as well with all the chat highlights and also Glenn Brown, our producer. Want to thank everybody. I almost want to thank Alan. I almost want to thank.
Next time, maybe next time.
Possibly next time. But you know who else wants to?
Hi, Dad. I miss you.
Yeah, there you go.
Still a disappointment to the family.
Well, there you are. And that about wraps it up for us today. Check out Alan this weekend at the National Comedy Theater. Why do you keep doing that? And thank you in the chat. Thank you for your thoughtful comments. Even if you don't agree with what Alan and I say, we can have a conversation about pregnant women on motorcycles. I'm happy to have that conversation, and we can respectfully disagree, or we can debate. And I love that. I appreciate it. You are welcome here. Thank you, Alan. Anything else?
No. Visit filmthreat.com. We got a lot of reviews coming out this weekend and this week.
Yeah. So yes, go to filmthreat.com. Check out our review of Spider-Verse will be up there.
Past Lives will be up soon.
Past Lives is going to go up, and just, you should visit the website at least a couple times a week to catch up on your reviews. That's what I would recommend. Alan,
let's get out of here.